Ladies and gentlemen, the Freaky Fast broadcasting on your Wednesday night. Tonight, we give you the coverage of the WSSR Cup Series as the drivers get to test their skills at a track they've never raced before. It's the Milwaukee Mile here this evening as the drivers have tonight being the 11th race of the season. It's the penultimate race before the regular season comes to its conclusion. And this is one of your last chances to really make a march towards the playoffs if you're outside looking in. A lot of the field knows this is such a crucial time of the season where all the bad luck, all the good luck finally comes together on a track that is very much unknown to the WSSR series, but on track and on practice, it has been a tough handful all throughout this time. Now drivers have just about under 4.5 minutes to go here in practice where they head into qualifying, and we're excited again to give you all the coverage here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. My name is Sam Dyer. Joining me up in the booth here this evening is going to be Richard Wolsifer. And Richard, coming off of last week, the dominance from Gavin Rogers, now we head to the unknown of it's honestly anyone has a chance here tonight.
Yeah, it definitely is an unknown for these drivers, but not the racing world in general. The Milwaukee Mile actually is the oldest operating motor speedway in the world, being opened back in 1903 as a dirt track originally. So the track wasn't paved until like 1953 when we see the formation that we have now. So again, very unknown for these drivers, never raced here before. It's going to be a wild race. And yeah, the dominance from Gavin last week will not be seen today, as Gavin will not be starting today for this race, our points leader as well. So this will give a nice little gap closure for a lot of those drivers trying to chase Gavin for that regular season champion position.
Yeah, Gavin might be missing out on tonight, but we do have a return driver. We've got ourselves going to be Ben Keeney after having some computer issues these last few weeks. He's finally going to be back out there on track. His last race was back at the Red Bull Ring right before our holiday break, so it's great to see Ben back out there on course. But currently during practice, your fastest driver is the driver that currently is second in points, and coming off of an incredible day yesterday, winner of the eNASCAR going to be the College Series. That's John Forbes Jr. looking quick here tonight, wanting to continue on some great pace that he's had so far this season. One win. But the drivers behind him, I'm curious on how they might be performing. We got Joshua Kanata, who's in a just need to salvage a good night type of a run. James Scioli trying to get back into a rebound after missing last week's race, running the Dale Hart Jr. charity race. And then we've got Vincent Sora, who's third in points, and I think that's the most shocking thing. If you looked at his first 3 races of this season, I don't know how he climbed back up to be third in points.
Yeah, that is definitely a hard thing to believe. Vincent Sora is sitting third in points after such a terrible start to the season, but he has definitely picked up his performance though in this second part of the regular season and gotten himself up there in contention to win the regular season championship. So he's still within grasp of Gavin. Today can definitely close that gap for him, along with John Forbes, who's sitting second. But just a fantastic work from Vincent to be able to recover from such a terrible start to the season.
It certainly is. You might have just saw Jared Talmadge's time. That was, I believe, a little bit of wall riding that he went for. That got him that quick time for himself. But a lot of fast drivers to watch out for. Like I said, John Forbes, Joshua Kanata, James Scioli, they're going to be the quick ones, but there also is going to be the note. We'll go a little bit deeper into it once we get to the warm-ups, but the cutoff line, it is very close between a lot of drivers on who could be in or out of the playoffs, and one that's very excited for this race. Brian McCann, he currently enters tonight 14th in points. He needs a good day. He's got to continue to get a good run here tonight. Also, other drivers, Chris Stitz, 15th in points. Jared Talmadge, he is a driver who's on the cutoff line at 16th in points, but Cody Reed, who won the first race of the season, he currently runs 24th in points. And if he finishes inside of the top 25 in points, that win will automatically place him into the playoffs. So that 16th points position isn't the safest place. You are fighting for 15th, and that's where we find Chris Stitz. Also outside looking in, Joshua Kanata is 17th. Also Tom Sinchek is 18th. Ollie Fonseca 19th. Brian Noel, he runs 20th in points. Those are going to be big drivers of note to watch out for that need a big day today before they set up going into next week at the 2008 configuration in Daytona, which that also is going to be a race of unknowns as John Forbes gets right back to the top as practice is coming to a close. I'm curious, Richard, qualifying, how intense is this going to be for drivers? Because been hearing reports this track is very difficult to drive on.
Yeah, this track is a very, very loose track. And like we were saying, a lot of those times we were seeing in the practice, that was the cheeky wall ride that, made famous by Ross Chastain at Martinsville a few years ago. So those low times in the 28s, that's definitely not what we're going to see in qualifying because that will invalidate their lap time. But these drivers are definitely going to have to ride that line of control and speed because the more you're out of control, the more speed you have because that's how loose this track is. But you get too loose, that car goes around, and you got to attempt another lap to try and get that fast lap. So, but it's going to be interesting to watch, see what they can do, and see how many drivers can get a lap down on their first or even the second lap.
As Milwaukee Mile, it's in the name. It's a mile distance course with the turns being at 9 degrees of banking, the straightaways at 2.5 degrees of banking. And it's just a little bit over 1 mile in distance that these drivers are covering. They will have 5 minutes to put down their fastest lap and only 2 laps to do so to get placed wherever they are on the grid. Some drivers looking to get back onto the pole spot, others just wanting to be in a solid position to maybe just wait this race out. As another factor of this racetrack, it's heat. It is very hot out there on track with the air temperature being around 84 degrees Fahrenheit. Track temp 110 degrees here for qualifying. It was around 111, 112 during practice. Cooled off just by a simple degree. We'll see how much that influences qualifying as first couple of times are being placed in. And it's Vincent Sora that we're watching on screen with a 31.021 lap time. That's times that we're expecting to see, but who can get closer, and will it be the first lap or the second lap as Sora is soaring down into turn 3 and hoping for a good launch off the exit of the corner of turn number 4. He still has the pole time of all the drivers on their first lap. But Vincent Sora coming across the line. Will he best this time, or will it be the first? And he will advance in pace. He will get under that 31-second marker. It's a 30.982. as Noel still going to be the second fastest currently.
Yeah, fantastic time for Vincent Sora there. It does seem like the second lap will probably be the driver's better lap. Get those tires heated up a little bit, get them a little bit more grip on the tires. That's what they're going to look for, because you don't want to be too loose on the track, because that, you know, a chance to scrub off a lot of speed. So great lap by Vincent Sora. John Forbes moves up to the second spot with a 31.026. These times are very, very close to each other, as it's only about a 1/10 split from second on back to 9th place almost. So huge time discrepancy there. Like a lot of really close times, but right along here right now with James Scioli, one of our faster drivers of the field, likes to kind of place his car right up front and stay there pretty much the entire race. So Scioli, one of their faster drivers here in the league.
Certainly is, and I think for these drivers that waited, they might get rewarded. The track temp has dropped 2 degrees since the start of qualifying, and Ryan Kelly took advantage of it. The 3 machine, a 30.783 time for himself, as across the line for James Scioli, his first lap already underneath 31 seconds and faster than Vincent Sora. So it looks like if you wait until the very last moment, you are going to get a screaming fast track. They can put down some great qualifying times. Kelly still top of the board with a 30.783. But James Scioli wants to get by Kelly here as he exits out of the corner. It's going to be around that 30-second marker, but how low can you go? As Scioli crosses the line, not quick enough for the pole, but good enough to best his first time. It's a 30.846. It's 6/100ths of a second off. And here's going to be Ryan Kelly's teammate, Larry Yingling, taking on the higher approach, setting up for a 1-lap go. And he's going to completely give up his first time to lap. And it's all going for lap number 2.
Yeah, lap 2 is going to be his faster lap, as he's going to try and get it. Not a very strong first lap there, it seemed, but like you said, working on that second lap speed, going to build up the tire heat and the grip, try to get some momentum going as he comes out of turn 2 and launches down the back stretch. But Larry looking to start further up front. Talked to him before the race. He was not totally excited about this track, never raced it before, and it's very technical, very difficult to get around, but he's going to come out of turn 4 down the front stretch, going to complete the second lap, and he will be able to land a 31.060 just inside the top 10. So, no, 30.909. Sorry, I misread that time there. It's third place for Larry Yingling.
A great time for himself. And again, the drivers that waited, this track cooled off dramatically as the qualifying just 5 minutes, and it was 5 degrees changing as the first couple of drivers that hit the track, they had to deal with the track temperature of 110 degrees. It dropped down to 105. Still hot, but Richard, I mean, Vincent Sora went from the pole time that looked like it was going to be untouchable. He's all the way down to almost 5th, 6th position because of that track change. Massive change. We'll touch on that as the race goes on, but we have just entered into warm-ups where the drivers will have a 5-minute period to get any last minutes of practice as well. Let's take a deeper look of how the season's been going so far for these drivers. We gave you a sneak peek of what the point standings looks like, but here's what they visually look like so far entering tonight to the Milwaukee Mile. Again, we've got tonight's race next week, and then we will have the 16 drivers set up to race for a championship. As currently, Gavin Rogers looks good on top. He's going to miss out on tonight's race, and he will already has used his drop race. So that 75 machine will get a lot closer on the gap between first, second, and third. But it's that cutoff line window with the fact that Cody Reed enters tonight 24th in points. If he has another solid performance here tonight, that almost makes it an absolute that everyone who's trying to point their way into the playoffs, they're going to have to battle for that 15th position here, Richard.
Yeah, they definitely will. Cody Reed, like you said, has to have a solid run, but not just a solid run, but a clean run as well. Any issues that he gets involved in, that can drop his position in the finishing order, and that's points lost. So Cody Reed just got to keep his nose clean, keep his car in a decent finishing position, and he has pretty much locked himself in with that win at the start of the season at Atlanta. And I think he can do it. He's had some pretty solid runs these past couple of races. So these drivers, they've eyeing that 15th position of Chris Stitz, and that's what they have to aim for if they want to make it into the playoffs for the rest of the season.
As other drivers know, that next week also going to be a great opportunity if you're inside of the top 25 or just outside of the top 25 to get a win and be into the playoffs. So 15th isn't absolutely secured, and that's the points position you have to mark to, but entering tonight, that is the position you're looking at. Now let's take a closer look at what the schedule has been like this season, because it's been some ups and downs, and what I've been loving the most is the variety of winners. A couple of drivers have won multiple times this season, with Gavin Rogers being the driver with the most wins at 3. James Scioli has 2 wins, and then a laundry list of drivers that have won. Same on the pole side of things. That has been very open, that anyone's got a chance there. As we've seen this season, Richard, it has been a fun season to watch with Milwaukee here tonight, Daytona, before we enter the playoffs with a unique track. We're going to be entering into Watkins Glen in Texas as our first 2 races in the playoffs.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to be 2 basically unknown races to finish off the season here at Milwaukee Mile, but that Daytona 08 is going to be a very interesting race to watch, because a lot of you, if you remember seeing Daytona, normally it's a very smooth race. The track's not very bumpy, but that 08 configuration and these cars is going to make for a wild race next week. So that's going to be fun to watch, but a great start to the playoffs also with Watkins Glen to open them up, and that could be almost a ticket punch for Gavin Rogers, who's basically your road course ringer here in WSSR, winning 4 out of the 5 that he has competed in. So that's going to be something everyone's got to look forward to, and hopefully get a little bit more practice and try to chase down Gavin Rogers there at the Watkins Glen.
Yeah, going to be a big tone setter going to a road course to start that playoffs off, and the rest of the schedule also going to be fun. We'll, again, touch more on it in the upcoming weeks when we enter into the playoffs. But for tonight, we are here at the Milwaukee Mile. There's a lot of different drivers that we feel like could be quick ones to watch out for. And I got to say, my pick for tonight It's going to be a driver who's looked fast and is staying fast. It's James Scioli in the 77. He has looked quick. I think he's going to be one of the top drivers to watch out for this evening. He's starting second. Scioli looks fast. Richard, who do you feel like is going to be the fast driver on your note card you got to be watching out for?
You know, probably a driver we probably normally don't pick but Brian McCann, I talked to him prior to the race or prior to the broadcast starting, and he actually really enjoyed the track. He was third fastest of the actual times in the practice session, and he's going to be rolling out P4, which is a really high start, honestly, for Brian McCann. He could have a really strong race tonight at Milwaukee Mile.
And that's needed. Again, he's starting in that around the bubble marker of where you want to be in points, so he needs a strong run. Then our third member of our crew, that's Robert Moyer Jr. running productions in the background. He's going with the controller driver of Shane Terrian, the 9 machine. Going to be starting in the middle of the field. I was talking to Shane earlier. The confidence isn't really there, and it's proven in qualifying. He did not set a time. The 9 will be starting all the way back in 30th. We'll see how he marches his way through the field, as that will be Robert's pick here tonight. I want to say thank you again also to the amazing sponsors. We'll give them a more deeper read later on, but thank you so much to GTR Simulators and Trophy Smack, the 2 major sponsors of the WSSR Cup Series. Head on over to gtrsimulators.com and use the promo code WSSR for 10% off on their wide range of products to help you feel like you're racing on a pro level at home. As well, head over to trophysmack.com and use the promo code WSSR Smack for all trophy apparel that you're looking for, from pre-made to customs. You can find it all at Trophy Smack. As we move on from practice, qualifying, warm-ups, it's time for the main event of the evening, our 150 laps at the Milwaukee Mile. And top of the board will be the 3 machine of Ryan Kelly, one of his best qualifying runs of the season. When this 3 is up front, he's going to be a driver to watch out for, as he will be starting in that front row with James Scioli to his outside. Yin Yang Racing may be prepped and ready for this one, because also going to be behind his teammate that got the pole. It's the 67 3-time champion of the WSSR, Larry Yingling, starting third. Brian McCann going to be watching out what pace he's got. That's going to be Richard Wolfsburg's pick this evening, starting fourth. Chad Wilkes, hoping for a better run than last week at Road America the 6th, will be starting in 5th place. Vincent Sora starts all the way down in 6th position. 7th, we find the 11 of John Forbes Jr. 8th is Ken Campbell. Ryan Noel, one of those drivers near the cutoff line, will be starting in 9th place, and finishing out our top 10, it's the 7 of Douglas Newbigin.
Yeah, great top 10 there. And rolling out P11 is going to be last year's champion Zachary Hall in the number 1, and Ross Tatum to his outside, starting in the 12th position. GT Irizarry starting 13th in the 14 machine, and Jarrett Talmadge to his outside in 14th place. Joshua Canado will be rolling out P15 with Cedric Hunter in the Hello Kitty number 13 machine on the outside in the 16th position. Christopher Norris, last week's birthday boy, starting in the 17th position in the number 38, and Nick Crawford to his outside in the 18th position. Rolling out 19th will be Chris Stitz, who is on that bubble basically in 15th position in points. So hopefully he can have a really good run to continue. And Samuel S. Garcia will be rolling out in the 20th place.
Then falling back to 21st position, we find the 26th of Tom Sinchek. Driver got a solid performance last week after early struggles. It's the 2 of Danny Cochran. Spectacular finish that they had coming to the line last week with Shane Terrian. All behind them, we'll be finding the 28 of Brian P. Johnson. Cody Reed will be starting in 24th with Christopher Wade 25th. 26th, we find Ryan Ferraro with Justin Malarkey in 27th. Ollie Fonseca will be back in 28th. 29th is Ben Kinney, and finishing out our final 2 drivers who did not put in a time, Shane Terrian and Tyler Dangler. 31 drivers expected to take the green. But up front, it's the Yin Yang driver of Ryan Kelly, ready to give us to the go. I want to say thank you to everyone that's joining with us. Tonight's race had a little bit of oopsies happen, as the race will be officially 150 laps. Stage break will be at the end of lap 35. No fast repair, but the drivers were supposed to only have 5 sets of tires in pit road. Well, unfortunately for some, fortunate for others, they will have unlimited tires. So if you need to go into the pits, enjoy the rubber that's there. As the field gets ready to go green, they enter the restart zone, and in the power of the 3 machine of Ryan Kelly, he didn't get going as well as he wanted. James Scioli instead will have the nose ahead entering turn number 1, as we'll be side by side with the 3 with a way better entry into the corner. Take the lead and drives away is Kelly.
Ryan Kelly with a bullet out of a gun, basically shooting right out of turn 1 into turn 2, and just takes a hefty, strong lead. And with that restart, like I said, did not have a great start compared to Scioli, but was able to make that up in the turn. So a great lead as he comes around and leads lap 1 with his teammate Larry Yingling making the pass, coming down into second past Scioli also. And Chad Wilkes is making a move back there on the outside as well. Let's see if he can make the pass on James Scioli also.
Big loss of time, though, for the 8 machine of Brian McCann. Went extremely wide entering turn number 1. He's already lost 4 positions, could be losing even more. As you're looking back, seeing the battling between, I believe that's GT Rosari and Zach Hall, as they're battling back for 11th position. Other drivers also back there. Jared Talmadge, who needs that good run. You see it on screen now. It's Douglas Newbegin, and Ken Campbell is the 7. Missed out on last week's race, trying to get a good finish to propel Douglas Newbegin into a position where if he wins either tonight or next week, he could be another driver that could steal a spot in the playoff.
Yeah, he definitely can. That's something he's looking forward to. Being down in 23rd in points, he's kind of got to rely on that win, so he's got to give everything he has tonight and next week. But he's doing a good job right now, just kind of keeping it clean, which is what he's trying to want to do. It's going to be a long race still. Everyone's doing a really good job. Right here, but we're back here with Danny Cochran, who is racing side by side with that of Chris Stitz, and they're doing a good job keeping each other off. But Cedric Hunter also up here having a little battle with himself with Joshua Kanata.
Yeah, Joshua Kanata trying to find his way to go forward, changing up the schemes. There's a couple of drivers that have changed up their schemes. The 16 changing it up, as well as the 26 of Thomas Sinchen, bringing out a little bit of blue, as a slight dive bomb move by the 16 there, attempting to go for a pass. Larry Yingling, as well as Ryan Kelly and James Scioli, trying to pull away from the rest of the field. Our top 3 having almost over a second gap back to 4th place where Chad Wilkes runs currently, as getting to see the hands of Yingling here for this lap. I mean, looking smooth currently, but this flat surface, like I said, about 9 degrees of banking in the corner, 2.5 degrees on the straightaways. There's not a lot helping you through these corners, but they're making it work currently.
Yeah, there's not a bunch of banking. It is a very flat track, kind of like that of New Hampshire. So it is a lot of throttle control for these cars to get around this turn. And the biggest thing about being behind other drivers is that dirty air. It takes a lot of downforce off that nose and does not let those front tires grip like they should. So a lot of these drivers further back in the field are going to have to try and manage their tire wear a little bit more than those that are in cleaner air, pretty much the leader only. But a lot of drivers on the outside also, they got a little bit of clean air that they can use, as we got a little bit of a challenge for position here. And the pass will be made on Brian Noel from John Forbes.
Yeah, John Forbes on the outside, able to make that pass work for himself. And looking at the 00, attempting to go for a pass back. The crossover move was not there, as well as the 8 machine of Brian McCann, trying to find a way to get back some of those positions he lost in those early positions. But as we were riding on board with Yingling there, interesting, oh no, Chad Wilkes gonna be snapping loose off the exit of the corner, into the grass, into the wall, and into the tire barrier is the 6 machine, as he will stay low off the racing surface. We stay green for now, but Chad Wilkes' nightmare from last week's contact with Christopher Norris to now that spin has to take a toe to pit road, and Chad Wilkes' night could be over just like that. Oh, you hate to see that for the 6 machine, who once again, great qualifying run, but couldn't capitalize with it.
Yeah, Chad Wilkes has had a very up and down season this season. So did have a huge happening last week with Christopher Norris on the front stretch going into turn 1 at Road America. And just an unfortunate, got a little loose coming out of turn 2 and just drove the car straight into that one little bitty tire barrier down in the grass on the backstretch. So just an unfortunate spinning location and then just unfortunate car placement there. So hopefully we'll see what he can do, get some repairs done, and maybe get back on track, but that could potentially be the end of his day.
As now on screen, we're seeing the two drivers that started in the back. Shane Terrian, who started last year tonight. Tyler Dangler did not take the green, as well as Cody Reed, who is making his charge forward as well as he can. Cody hoping to learn a little bit here, but I talked to Cody before this race. He didn't have a lot of confidence entering tonight. Felt like this car was going to be a handful. The track wasn't fun for him, and he's just hoping to survive and make it to the end of the race if possible. As again, points are going to be tough for Cody. He's just inside of the top 25 in points, and he needs a solid run to feel a lot more comfortable heading into Daytona next week. As Christopher Norris able to make the pass. Christopher Norris in the 38 as well as the 24 Paulie Fonseca both hit with L1 penalties after having too many cause of incident cautions or just incidents in general over the course of this season. So both have to start at the end of the line. The 38 has been moved to move up to 23rd. The 24 machine will move up to 19th. Good recovery for Ollie. So he has been flying through this field as 74 and others going back and forth. And there's that Ohio State 24 machine. A very rough Road America, but for Ollie here tonight, making this track look very clean is the 24.
Yeah, Ollie's doing a really good job making his way through the field little by little. So just kind of being patient and taking the spots when he can. And it is a gorgeous Ohio State machine he's got there in that number 24. So, but Ollie doing exactly what he likes to do every single race, just kind of be a little bit patient and make the moves when he has to. As right along now with the number 27, Jarrett Talmadge up here in the 10th position. He is the last driver for the stage bonus points when the stage ends. So he's going to see if he can either gain a little bit more or just try to defend his 10th spot right there to make sure he can get some bonus points for the stage.
That stage will conclude at the end of lap 35. Also, talking about being patient and taking them when you can, James Scioli was patiently making his way forward as the 77 did fall down to third place at one moment. Now has climbed to the lead after getting by Ryan Kelly. The 3 just slightly went up a little bit too high, gave space. 77 takes that position and now trying to drive away. Larry Engling as well as Vincent Sora, they're now starting to make that push forward. And Sora, looking at the last couple of laps that have been ran, 51 has been the fastest driver on track, as now he's gotten to the hard part. Now it's making some passes on drivers ahead of you.
Yeah, he's definitely got Larry Yingling, and Larry was, like I said earlier, was not really looking forward to this track. He hadn't had a lot of time on it, so it's a new experience for him. But Vincent Sora taking a look on the inside. Larry a little bitty wiggle there, and Vincent trying to get that sidetracked, and he's going to throw it down into turn 1, and he should be able to make the pass nice, clean. Gets up in front of Larry, and the pass complete. That's about as clean and as perfect as you can do it here at Milwaukee.
16 laps in the books, and Vincent Sora up 3 positions from where he started. As one of the bigger movers of drivers that started inside of our top 10 has been Vincent Sora. Also, Brian Noel has been a big mover of the 00. But I'm curious on your thoughts on this, Richard. Hearing a lot of drivers say they don't really have a lot of practice on the Milwaukee Mile. It's not a track that's well known for a lot of different series to run at. I know for us here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting, we've seen Vincent Sora and a lot of the drivers that have raced on Monday nights with ISRC Truck Series. They've raced here in the past, but I'm curious on how much of just having track time, it doesn't matter if it's the same vehicle or not, is assisting some of these drivers here this evening.
Oh, it definitely can. Any kind of track time on any track it is, regardless of the car, you at least get the understanding of where the nuances of the track can happen, like the bumps in the turns, or where the car tends to break loose, or where you should start cutting in the middle of the turn as well. So any experience on a track, I mean, seat time, lap time, track time, it all adds up to a better experience than whatever car you're in. So a lot of those ISRC truck drivers who have driven here before, you know, they might be having a little bit of experience, a little bit more speed than those who haven't touched Milwaukee at all. But A lot of these drivers, for how loose they were complaining that this track was, they're all doing a really good job keeping these cars nice and straight. So they've figured something out, but now can you get the speed under the car while also maintaining those tires? And I think this is where a lot of those drivers will start learning that and the difference.
19 laps currently have been completed. About to be starting lap number 20 for James Scioli. Rest of the field seeing passes every once in a while if someone see an opportunity to throw it down to the inside, or if they feel like going for the chance of the long way around on the outside groove. But currently seeing a long train of drivers waiting on who's going to be slipping up, and slipping up right there. Saw a slight mistake on the 21 Mellow Yellow machine of Ross Tatum, and I think that might be the reason why we're seeing drivers stay so smooth. Tatum saw the fact that he was going to lose time there, and Danny Cochran was going for the pass. He gave up that position quite easily, thought about the crossover move, didn't go for it. The 21 graciously giving that position away after seeing that he made the mistake and did not want to put himself in a risky situation heading into turn 1.
Yeah, that's great racer craft there by Ross Tatum. Got a little loose coming out of the turn and knew Danny Cochran had the run, and instead of putting himself in potentially the wall or even wrecking Danny himself, just gave the position up, and he'll work on trying to get that position back as he made a little bit of a run there to get up onto his bumper, but not able to continue the momentum as he falls back a little bit. And Danny going to try and make another pass here on the 14 as well, and he will complete it going into turn 3.
And trying to follow in the tire tracks was Ross Tatum, and Tatum trying to push up GT Rosari, and instead grazes the grass, breaks loose, and now Tom Sinchek in the 26 will have a chance to fight back over Ross Tatum. So just going for the risky move, and it backfires for the 21, but willing to dive into the corner and holds the position. But those tires, they're going to be hurting. That's a lot of heat just in those 2 corners we watched for Tatum that he is now going to be feeling for the rest of this run. And so we're done with this stage, and oh, that's the worst nightmare also. You don't want to see a driver start blinking out as well as having some tire issues.
Yeah, blinking out is never fun, mainly for the drivers around you, but he is definitely feeling that. We have a caution on the track. Oh, man.
Oh, no.
Was
That looked to be Shane Terrian in the 9 machine, as Terrian gets caught up with Christopher Norris, who overcorrected back into the 9 as Shane Terrian was struggling with tires, trying to find a way to get by Cody Reed, as Reed had just gotten by him. Same for Norris. And it is going to be an incident here heading into turn number 3, where the 9 of Terrian seen an opportunity to get by both the 25 and the 38, and it does not go the way that he hoped that it would. As Christopher Norris, actually, I think he might have got a little bit too far back. Might be this upcoming lap throughout turns 3 and 4. But Christopher Norris overcorrecting right into the 9 machine and spinning out Terrian. That brought out our yellow here. It should be in the middle of 3 and 4 when we see this incident. We'll see for this lap, but I mean, Richard, you're already seeing it. Norris is just drifting already for 2 laps in a row. That handling is gone on the 38, and it was just bound to see calamity happen here.
Yeah, he's burned up those rear end, or that right rear tire, which kind of loses grip, and he just loses it there and darts back up into Shane Terrian. That is the biggest issue with these cars, is you can get a little loose, and if you have that steering wheel the wrong degree trying to save it, the car just wants to snap and turn hard right. And that's exactly what we saw there with Shane Terrian. So hard hit for Shane, hard hit for Christopher Norris also. Hopefully they can get their damage repaired, get back on track, and make some waves. But it looked like pretty much the entire field coming down into pit lane there to get some service. I mean, when you got, no limit on tires, might as well get some fresh tires when you can, so you can run a little faster than everybody else.
Yeah, and we just saw in that replay, Christopher Norris completely cranking the wheel right, and once there was grip, the wheel was still turning right, and it just slingshotted right into Terrian. 2 drivers, though, did stay out, shockingly. It's GT Irizarry and Cody Reed, 2 drivers that weren't looking the quickest, but going for the gamble of track position. Why not go for a gamble? Also, some other gambles that happened during pit stops. Douglas Newbegin went with 2-tire stop. He's now bumped his way up into 3rd place. Also, Ali Fonseca, who's been the biggest mover based off a raw pace so far, he went with 2 tires, and he'll move up to 12th position. And Richard, I think that's the fun thing with unlimited sets of tires. It adds that factor of you can go for 2 a lot more often.
Oh yeah, you don't have to worry about how many sets you have for a full set for later on. So it kind of opens up a whole bunch of different strategies here, and I think that's a decent move for Douglas Newbigging, who's really looking to try to get a win to make the playoffs. So this could help put him in a spot for the stage end to get him a higher position when we resume racing again. So a good gamble. I'm all for it. I don't know about the not pitting from Cody Reed, though, and GT Irizarry. We'll see how that plays out, because we saw that these rear tires are already getting a little worn out and make these cars really loose, but we're coming around out of turn 4 to take the green flag racing.
Pace car about to make that hard left-hander, and we are about to be back to green flag racing here at Milwaukee Mile. GT Irizarry on the loud pedal, taking off and go as the drivers roar into turn number 1. We're already 3 wide. Douglas Newbigging doesn't want to wait behind that 25, tries to get under, squeezing to the quarter panel. Reed somehow holds steady, but Scioli with the run, heading for that lead position. We're almost 4 wide for the lead spot, but it's Scioli that takes the lead. Cody Reed, GT, Douglas Newbigging. We knew those tires weren't going to last for long. They didn't even last for 1 lap.
Yeah, they're still 3 wide with Vincent Sora and Larry Yingling on the inside of Cody Reed, and another row behind him with John Forbes and Ryan Kelly. GT Irizarry is dropping like a rock. Those tires, proof right there that fresh tires can definitely make or break a restart for you, as those two are dropping in a hurry. But Cody Reed, or Douglas Newbigging on those 2 tires, is doing a great job up in the front, kind of maintaining where he was at. And out in second place, following his teammate of Scioli around out of turn 4.
The big thing for GT Irizarry, for Cody Reed, they're both thinking we need to be inside of the top 10 and survive inside of the top 10 once lap 30 comes around, and then hope for a caution flag to come out. That would count as the stage, because these tires will not allow you to stay in the top 10. If we race it green to the stage, you're just too slow. You're losing too much time. But Cody Reed, GT Irizarry, both linger inside of our top 10 at this moment. And this is incredible to see Cody Reed where he's at right now, currently still fighting for the 8th place position, kind of building a wall due to the fact that GT Irizarry is holding back other drivers. But we are now on lap 30. And this, if a caution comes out now, this would be a big net advantage for Cody Reed and Irizarry.
Yeah, this would be a huge, huge gamble win for both of those drivers, but I do believe Irizarry has officially dropped out of the top 10. He is now sitting in the 11th position. So Cody Reed is going to be the one that's going to come out on top with this, but he gets a little loose in the turn as well, as the 20 set of Jared Tomlin looking underneath. He's going to make the pass along with Ryan Kelly and Zach Hall. So Cody Reed, he can potentially drop out of the top 10 as well.
But trouble behind, and it's GT Irizarry just as Cody Reed gets out of the top 10. Oh, he had the chance for points, but it doesn't work out. Irizarry breaking loose out of turn 4, tapped by Danny Cochran, and saying hello to the water barrels for a quick moment. Was the 14, I think, was able to come to a stop before hitting them too hard. Slowly inches and bang. Small little contact. Doesn't look like it's required damage for Irizarry, but all that gambling went away in a blink of an eye.
A big gamble that didn't work out for Irizarry, but who did work out for? Cody Reed. I do believe he was able to get into 10th or 9th there at the end of the stage. But yeah, just a little small tap there for Irizarry. Hopefully not a lot of damage, but I think they're definitely now going to come in and be like, I think it's time for some new tires.
It might be a good call. I'm curious, though, for those that already had pitted, do you still make that call? As drivers, we were notified, can go on fuel about 98 to 102 laps on fuel. So you're expecting to come in and just get fuel. Do you take tires if you're the front runners? Here we go into pit road, and it's a slight tricky one if you're not aware of where pit entry is. It is just a little niche on the straightaway, and some drivers are taking the gamble of staying out and not entering pit road because you can't make it on fuel from here. So why not stay out and take that track position while James Scioli, as well as a few others, enter pit road, gonna get service done, but it's gonna be Joshua Kanata, Ross Tatum, Brian P. Johnson, Ben Keeney, John Forbes. Ben Keeney gonna be the last driver that stayed out. John Forbes, Ryan Kelly taking 2 tires, as they will now jump ahead of James Scioli, who because of these cautions and the gambles that drivers are taking, he's losing track position, has fallen down to 8th place.
Yeah, and we actually had a little bit of scuffle on pit road. John Forbes and Danny Cochran got into each other, so Danny had to back up and get back into his pit stall because he was spun almost all the way around by Danny Cochran. So unfortunate pit road situation for Ollie Fonseca, but he's able to get back on track. And Joshua Kanata opting to not pit. That's going to be a very interesting strategy call by him.
Yeah, top 4 not coming into pit road. Kanata, Tatum, Brian P. Johnson, and Ben Keeney going to be all staying out on old rubber, as that will count as our stage. And congrats to James Scioli, who will be our stage winner. With the time of that yellow coming out, that did conclude. So Joshua Kanata, how will the 16 roll on the outside? It's only going to be a simple 8-lap difference on tires, just a mere 6 laps of green flag racing difference. We'll see how big of a difference it will turn into. Also have a report on Chad Wilkes. He has officially called it an evening after the timing of this yellow, so the 6th is called it a night. Tyler Dingler also has gotten on track for a quick mere moment. Went on track, ran a few laps, and now it looks like he might be doing a start and park for the 19 machine. Pace car to pit road. We enter the restart zone, and Joshua Kanata leading some laps here this evening, taking some gambles on when you want to enter pit road and staying out. Works out for the 16, the 21. They cannot make it on fuel from here, so why not stay out on track? Well, we're already 3 wide in the middle of the field for 5th place.
These drivers are definitely wanting to bring the excitement tonight at this new track, but they sort out the 3 wide and they're back to side-by-side racing, as we got a driver way up the track bringing it back to 3 wide as well. I think that is Brian P. Johnson. 3 wide with Vincent Soar and John Forbes, but it looks like they're going to back off and make it 2 wide again, but they're still going to look just below him and make it 3 wide again, and we got Douglas Newbigging slow on the inside.
Broke loose out of 4, slamming that inside wall. Luckily didn't collect anyone else in that incident, but Douglas Newbigging's troubles of spinning out continue on, and that is a hard lick the 7 took. Major loss of track position, all of that gambling in the stage kind of went away, and now he's got to just show on raw speed that he's got a chance to get back up front, and oh boy, watch out, and that's Ben Keeney close to pit road, and I think he did hit the barrels as the 98. Hard contact, and he just could not get away from the pit entry, and smashing the barrel, and his return is over for Ben.
Oh, unfortunate situation for Ben Keeney as he comes out of turn 4, gets loose, and the car just wants to drive straight into the pit wall barrels. As we ride along right now, as we see what happens, and he does, he just gets a little loose coming out of 4, way low, almost on the apron, bounces off the original wall, then just head on into those barrels. That is terminal damage, I think, for Ben Keeney. I think that will be the end of his night.
We'll do it right on. Get a sense of what it's like from Ben's point of view in the cockpit. Just cold tires, trying to get off the exit of this corner, and it's so tough with how flat this track is. It's almost impossible to catch. Gets into that wall, and it is a perfect lineup shot to the pit barrels. And luckily this is virtual, because if that was real life, that would have been a nasty lick that 98 took. And Ben's return into 2025, we hate to see it go out like that. We were happy to see the return of Ben, and we hope to see even better racing next week at Daytona. But Richard, I mean, now we're into the I know this is a mile course, but that short track style of cautions breeding cautions, and this is cold tires are just going to get even colder now for this next restart.
Yeah, this is a prime example of, like you said, cautions breed cautions. I mean, we had a caution, then we had the stage break caution, and then Ben Keeney bringing this one out shortly after. So these tires, it's going to be rough for them to warm up if we can't stay under caution. So hopefully these drivers kind of hopefully calm down just a tad bit, let these tires warm up, and then we can have some side-by-side racing again. But man, track temp is up to 112 degrees. That is really hot. That is hotter than qualifying. So these tires, they can warm up really quick, but you don't want to warm them up too fast. But those tires are still, when they're cold, they're very slick, and that's what happens, as we saw with that of Ben Keeney.
Yeah, the air temperature has dropped a degree. It's now down to 83, but that track temp is around the window that it was for practice. Practice was looming around 111 to about a 114. It was going back and forth in there. So drivers did get a little bit of practice of what this track temp is like. But this is that track temp that when we were talking to the drivers, they felt miserable. It was tough to stay on track. I was getting reports of it is really easy to miss these entry of the turns and go up to the outside, which with iRacing's new updates that they've added to the servers, there's now dirt and dust and marbles that is really going to be affecting these drivers on the outside. The longer this race goes on, it's going to get tougher and tougher. If you miss the entry, your night might be done if you go too high into those marbles.
Yeah, the new debris model. Wow, brain fart there for a second. My bad. But the debris model has definitely been added, and it's a great change to this racing. And yeah, you get a little bit too high into that turn, and you could get really loose. We saw a lot of cars going up there, and it slows way down. So, but that pace car is about to take that hard left onto pit road, and we're about to go green flag racing again here as Joshua Kanata starts off, and the green flag is waving, and a great start from Joshua Kanata as the 21 gets a little blink, and he's about to get past as well. No, he's able to defend that position as they come out of turn 2, and Joshua Kanata still a great lead, but John Forbes on the hunt to try to chase him down and take that lead from him going into 3.
Big attempt by the 11 on the outside, and these restarts, that third row really do figure out these launches, and they've been able to figure out the timing and take off and go. But John Forbes misses the entry completely, and just like that, went for a solid brace and attempt back for second. Now going to be struggling to stay in that third place position. We saw Danny Cochran in the 2, and there's Tom Sinchek. Big contact with Ollie Fonseca. Everyone keeps in it straight, but Zach Hall gets into the marbles and brushes into Christopher Wade. And the race for last, it is a hornet's nest back here with a gaggle of cars just not able to get away from one another.
Yeah, that was a scary situation for a lot of drivers, having to make a lot of evasive maneuvers to try to get around. I am really shocked nobody spun out and caused a wreck there. All the drivers still keeping it straight, but that was a scary moment for Zach Hall as he finally files back in line to try and race and gain that ground back up.
Christopher Norris, who we saw earlier in the race, had a major snap-loose situation for the 38 machine. He's trying to find a way to cycle his way back up near the top 20 marker. Another driver's trying to cycle his way forward. Douglas Newbigin had a great chance to fight for inside of our top 5, top 10. Got loose, lost all that time, went basically back to last place. He's now inside of the top 20 and battling down for 18th position. Good runs right now for the 7, but we got to go back up front for the challenge for the lead because Ross Tate, a big slide, missed the entry, lost a ton of ground, and it gave an opportunity for John Force Jr. on the outside. He's got to go the long way around to get by this 16, and it's bringing along Vincent Sora, Ryan Kelly, and it is helping the 16 defend for this position on the inside. But it is bringing all the cavalry behind. I mean, Richard, this is about to get dangerous if you're Kanata, because all that time that you just built up on that restart to get away from the field, they're closing it back in quickly.
Yeah, they are, but Joshua Kanata is really doing a good job defending his position, but got a little loose, allowing John Forbes to get to his outside to make a move. John Forbes going to attempt another pass on the outside of Joshua Kanata. Got to stay out of those marbles where the car will push high, and they're both staying side by side. Kanata getting a little squirrely coming out of the turn, but it looks like John Forbes is going to have to run down the front stretch and will officially have that P1 position. They're still side by side. Kanata is not giving up easily.
He really isn't. You got to remember, Joshua Kanata on slightly older tires than the rest of the field. He was part of that group that decided to stay out under our last caution, while the rest of our leaders deciding to get some pits, go to the pits to get fresher rubber. So it's allowing them to make these bolder moves on the outside, as now Kanata will fall down to third place. But still a major net gain for Kanata, as he's got to be proud of the fact that he stayed up front as long as he did. Started 15th, now in third. And now it's find a position, a spot that you can kind of slot in line and defend that position as much as you can. Another gaggle of cars starting to get frisky around one another, looking around 14th position, and it's the drivers around the cutoff lines. The cutoff line for 25th, the cutoff line for 15th and 16th in points. And that is Chris Stitz, Cody Reed, as well as Ollie Fonseca and Danny Cochran. They were stacked 2 by 2. And I thought for a moment we were going to see an incident around that, because those drivers have been willing to throw these cars around and almost making contact around one another.
Yeah, and Danny Cochran still seems to be losing a little bit of ground. Ollie Fonseca on the inside of him. These two had a little bitty scuffle on the pit cycle there during the stage break. But they seem to be okay on the track. It was just a little bit of an accident. I think it was Ollie Fonseca coming across Danny Cochran's nose when they were trying to get in their pit box. But Danny Cochran holding strong on that outside line with Ollie Fonseca there. He's trying to make that pass. But the longer these two stay side by side, they're going to burn up their tires a little more than those in front and behind them. So they've got to get this sorted out if they want to save some tires for a longer run. But Danny Cochran, he is not wanting to give up any more positions. Gets a little squirrely coming out of turn 2 and into the wall. Gives a little bit of a run for Ollie, but still side by side, these two not giving up at all. But it finally looks like Danny Cochran's going to be falling back a little bit. And now Samuel S. Garcia will be challenging for that position.
Garcia trying to make his march forward on the inside to get by Cochran. That outside lane has not been really gifting any spots for the 2 machine, but he's trying to stay on the mark, on the darker aspect of this course. He's trying to stay away from the concrete, stay on the asphalt, through the corners as much as you can. 2 gets in line finally for himself. Now it's Ollie Fonseca and Cody Reed. Friends, allies, teammates trying to work as one, but Cody Reed drifts a little bit too high to lose that spot to Ollie Fonseca and sets up Danny Cochran now to go for the 16th position. And you're starting to see this line of drivers that are closing in, the train tightening up. And when you get passed by one driver, it kind of puts you in that conveyor belt to watch out for. If you see everyone getting good runs and you're stuck on the outside, you might be losing not just one, but multiple positions. We now move up to that battle for 10th place. Here's Ken Campbell and Jarrett Talmadge that race around one another, as Ken Campbell trying his best to hold back this 27, which Talmadge, I mean, he's been having a great couple of races ever since he switched over to this SpongeBob scheme. I gotta say, he's been a completely different driver, it feels like.
Yeah, he's definitely really stepped it up over these past couple weeks. It's great to see him up there and racing it along with some of these faster drivers we normally see up front. So Jarrett is doing a fantastic job near the end of this season. He's probably wishing he had this speed earlier in the season as well, but is able to finally complete that pass completely from Ben Campbell and will secure the 10th spot with Brian McCann now in his sights to see if he can get some speed and catch up. But Brian McCann seems to have a better run off the turn.
Trouble. It's the 26 of Tom Sinchek. Got spun around off the exit of turn 2. He's in the grass. We stay green as Sinchek tries to get rolling, and with the leaders slowly catching up, he needs to get rolling now as the green flag will continue to stay out, but a spin. Trouble for that 26 that was running around that 20th position.
Yeah, it's an unfortunate situation for Tom Sinchek there. He had an unfortunate situation last week at Road America also, as we ride along to see kind of what happened here in turn 1 and 2. Just gets up a little bit into Cody Reed and then down on the apron. Just a light tap to the, nope, doesn't even, just taps the inside wall trying to move forward. So very, not really an exciting spin, but just a small situation of getting into the door of another driver and then touching that yellow line there on the apron, that little curve, I guess you could say. So hopefully he can recover a little bit. He's definitely going to be wishing for a caution here soon, but Jarrett Talmadge on the move. He's trying to make the pass on Brian McCann, and it looks like he might be able to clear going into turn 3 here. Brian McCann losing another position potentially, so but a great move from Jarrett Talmadge, and he is just moving his way up through this field today.
Yeah, starting to see drivers that are really happy that that spin didn't bring out a caution. Another driver who's excited on the fact that that spin didn't bring out a caution enabled Vincent Sora in the 51 to take the lead over John Forbes. As we were watching the replay of the 26 spinning out, he was able to slice and dice his way past these drivers. Finally found an opening to get by the 11, and for Vincent Sora, I think his sights might be set on, I need to make sure that I pull away from this group. And this has been a fun kind of war to watch. I feel like it's been about 4 to 5 different drivers that in the long run all trying to compete for wins. It was Seth Knoll when he was showing up part-time, and you also saw Vincent Sora, Gavin Rogers, James Scioli, Drew Joe was a part of that mixture, and now John Forbes, of drivers that when they're around one another and get into the long run, seeing who has that speed late. And it seems like Vincent Sora has been that driver, and if you're Forbes or Scioli, you got to be nervous on this 51 having clean air and into this middle of this long run.
Yeah, long run indeed, and Vincent Sora doing a great job, just kind of holding up a decent lead of a little over half a second from John Forbes. So leaders up here, they're kind of just in their groove right now in a really good rhythm. Got to save those tires and try to figure out, all right, is it going to be worth it getting, pitting for tires or just running the fuel out? So these cars can run a really long time, over 100 laps on the fuel load. So it's going to be interesting to see if anybody wants to try and pit for tires, if that timing or the lap times make a difference. So, but a lot of just kind of in the rhythm and waiting for a time to pounce here in the front three, as a little bit more action further in the back.
Yeah, it's the middle of the pack. We're starting to see a few drivers getting close to one another. The battling for top 10 has been close, as well as a little bit deeper in the field. Currently, we see here, this is just outside of the top 10. Cedric Hunter trying to find a way to get by a friend and teammate outside of the series. Cedric Hunter and Brian B. Johnson. Also seeing one of their friends, Zach Hall, trying to make their way forward, catch up to that pack, as battling for 16th place. It's the one of Zach Hall and Chris Stitz going back and forth. And behind them, also some other battles that are happening, is Douglas Newbegin trying to find a way to get by the 50th Simon Garcia.
He's trying to make that move to the inside of Garcia there, sitting back in the 19th. He's got a long way to go to catch back up to the front, because he is kind of in a must-win situation to get into the playoffs at this point. So he's got this race and next race to make that up. But we jump up here to the 15 of King Campbell and the 21 of Ross Tatum. They got some side-by-side racing up here. Ross Tatum moving his way up kind of the field, trying not to lose any more positions until Jarrett Talmadge got around him. And Kid Campbell's trying to make that move as well. He's on the outside, but Ross Tatum holding a little strong there on the inside line. But I think this is going to be where Ken Campbell, if he gets too high, he's going to get into those marbles. It's going to make that car just a little tight. But Ross Tatum getting a little loose on the inside, and so did Ken Campbell. They're going to be side by side in a drag race down the front stretch.
And a lot of these drivers pitted around 29 laps ago, and during our first stint of this race, we saw the first 25 laps. Drivers were solid for the first 20, and then after 20 laps, the tires started to fall away, and started to notice drivers that didn't protect their tires as well started to get snappy loose. And one of those was Ross Tatum, and his handling has been really falling away these last 3 to 4 laps. Again, they've been out there on track. Green flag racing for quite a bit, and Tatum's tires look to be gone. It is a struggle whenever he touches the throttle. That thing just wants to spin out.
Yeah, he does. He's kind of got to roll the throttle at this point and try to do that, because anytime he puts the power down, that rear end wants to step out. So he has lost the grip in those rear tires. They just want to spin. So he's got a handful of a car to drive the rest of this race, or he decides to finally pit and take tires. So, but he is just losing positions now left and right, as he's now been passed by Danny Cochran and Zachary Hall as well. But we're riding up here with the 13 of Cedric Hunter, who is trying to make a pass on Ollie Fonseca for that 12th position. He's running on the outside. Even Danny Cochran's trying to peek to make a move on Ollie as well.
And Ollie really putting the pressure on this 13 machine. And I got to say, for Ollie, he's got to be feeling on top of the world right now. This is one of his better runs that he's had, and it's on a flat, short track. This is where he's kind of had troubles at some courses in the past, and doing a fabulous job. Started all the way in the back because of a penalty that he earned after last week's race, and he has just been working his way forward. And one of our biggest movers of the race is this 24. Second biggest mover, actually driver just ahead of them in that black American flag machine in the 28 of Brian P. Johnson, up 12th spot from where he started. Cedric Hunter's got to be careful. That outside row, the outside lane, as this run progresses, I'm shocked that the drivers on the outside are still holding position. I mean, Richard, at this point of the run, I thought for sure if you're stuck on the outside, you're losing that spot almost immediately.
Yeah, you would think so, but I will say that the benefit of that outside line is you have a little bit more of an arc, so you don't have to really crank that car down So that might be what's benefiting some of these drivers on the outside, which allows them to get a better, more straighter run down the straightaway. So that's probably why it's helping out those drivers on the outside. As looks like Cedric Hunter almost able to clear Ollie Fonseca. I just think he's a little too high on the entrance. Ollie also moving up the track, got a little tight, but Danny's going to look low. They're going to take it 3 wide down the front stretch. A little bitty tap into the quarter panel from Danny. Oh, they are beating and banging a little bit there as Cedric Hunter finally able to make that pass. And now Danny Cochran is making a move on Ollie Fonseca.
We're inching closer and closer to the middle point of this race. Patience levels are fading away as the two went for the aggressive move and backfires as Zach Hall will take that spot away. Last season's champion in the one machine. Hoping to set a tone, preparing himself into the playoffs. Zach Hall has 2 top 5s this season, 5 top 10s, and it has been a rough one at moments throughout the regular season. And with the playoffs right around the corner, the confidence level is almost at its lowest that it's been for championship hopes. But at least hunting for the playoffs is confident for the one machine. But Richard, I mean, when you're trying to build confidence at a track like Milwaukee Mile, Daytona next week, I mean, do you feel like there is any momentum you can build up as big move by the two machines, saw an opportunity to go for a pass, not there though, as Danny Cochran falls back to another position it looks like.
Yeah, Zach Hall and Danny Cochran both had a little bitty moment there, but Danny Cochran's going to be the loser in that one as Zach's going to pull a little bit of a gap there. But as for the momentum, I mean, you have 2 tracks that are not normally ran by these drivers, even in the official races. So this is not a track that normally shows up. The Cup cars don't race here normally either. And then you have the Daytona 08, which again, that's not even a track we can race at in real life because Daytona got repaved to a smoother surface. So when it comes to momentum, it's kind of difficult with these 2 tracks. You have this 1 mile flat, semi-slow, slick track, but then you're going to go back to Daytona, super speedway. Yeah, that's going to be really bumpy, and it's actually going to be a lot tighter than regular Daytona, but it's still going to be a lot of high speeds and tight racing. So it's really hard to build momentum with 2 completely polar different racetracks back to back.
Trying their best. We also saw for a quick moment there off of 4, big puff of smoke. Saw some tire tracks. That was Shane Tarrant in the 9 machine snapping loose on his own. Also, gutsy call, pitting early. First driver to make a green flag pit stop and still be out there on track. It's Ross Tatum taking the chance. He pits. He's going to be 1 lap down. And now it's up to the field. Can Ross find a way to see this race stay green and see more green flag pit stops?
Yeah, Ross Tatum, he definitely had to make that decision to pit. He was fighting that car, so he could just be, right now, he's got fresher tires, you know, he might be able to make some moves. He's going to look below here Zach Hall at the moment, but and we got a caution on track. So
and it's Shane Tarrant.
Shane Tarrant again spins around. Oh, man, that's a big break probably for Ross Tatum being a lap down. He should be the benefactor of the lucky dog.
That was right in front of the second pack on track. This is going to be a self-spin going into exit of turn 2. You're going to see behind Ryan Kelly enter the picture, and Tarian just a little bit too much acceleration off the exit of the corner, snaps loose, and then here comes the rest of the field on the outside. Hopefully plenty of spacing for them to get around this 9 machine, but Shane even over the radio saying he's not having a good time as the 9 messaged me before this race. He said this is going to be a very long night, tough one, and showing that it is going to be a tough one. And for Ross Tatum, yes, he pitted. Unfortunate, a big loss on track position, but he will get the lucky dog spot, so the 21 will at least get back on the lead lap. It's just all that track position is now gone for the 21 as everyone else hits pit road to get service done.
Yeah, he gets the lucky dog, but like you said, huge loss in track position. But he should still be able to come around and even restore those tires, get some new fresh tires on that car, because again, they don't have a limit on tires today. So it might not be a bad idea to be on the same set of tires with everybody, but we'll see what he does as all the tire cars on pit road getting some fresh shoes for those cars. So they're going to be a little happy now. Those cars are going to handle a lot better. They're not going to be as twitchy, as loose now. They're going to be able to handle these cars and be able to give some good side-by-side racing for us to be watching again today.
And as we are marching into the halfway of tonight's race, it's going to be a perfect time for us to step aside for a quick moment. I want to say thank you again to the amazing sponsors of Trophy Smack and GTR Simulators for being the primary sponsors of the WSSR Cup Series. For us, we will take a commercial break, but you won't miss a thing as we will go side by side for tonight. As if we go green, we'll be back in just a few moments. You're watching the Milwaukee Mile, race number 11. We'll be back right after this. Welcome back, and they waited for us to go to a commercial break to bring out the fireworks, I guess. Joshua Kanata, big slide, hard into the tire wall barrier on the backstretch. His race is over. Blown engine up front. It's Vincent Sora, James Scioli, Ryan Kelly, John Forbes going to be your front runners. And for a moment, looked like Brian Noel as well as Jared Talmadge were going to get frisky against one another on making contact back for that battle for fifth. It's been fun action so far as we've just entered the second half of tonight's race. There's Noel, there's going to be Talmadge. They continue to fight back to back, side by side. Although the field also has been having their moments of going side by side racing. And as we were under commercial break and under those conditions of a yellow, Ross Tatum losing that lap back that he earned just because of how long it took for him to get his pit stop service done. And then when they went back to green, that lucky dog spot didn't mean anything. It's a tough break. But we want to say thank you for joining with us here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting, giving you coverage of the WSSR Cup Series. My name is Sam Dyer. With me is Richard Wolsifer. And Richard, this has been fabulous racing. Swapping for the lead is James Scioli to the top spot, but these two drivers, 00 and the 27 for sixth place, they have no give up currently for themselves.
Yeah, Jared Talmadge really having a fantastic race today as he is now up in the sixth position, able to get around the 00 with Brian McCann now on his bumper as well. But I think he's in the clear now for this position as now he's going to try to chase down Larry Yingling up there in the fifth place. But Jared Talmadge is definitely having one heck of a race tonight. And he is just slowly and methodically moving his way through the field and passing a car one at a time.
Jared Talmadge, driver entering tonight, 16th in points, and wants to continue showing good pace for himself. These drivers this season have had a beforehand, 10 races entering this evening. They have a drop race. So if you have one bad race, they will scrub it away from your results. And for right now, Jared Talmadge, his best run was only back in November at Pocono, where he finished 8th place. It's his only top 10 of the season. Here tonight, trying to even best that finish as he currently runs in 6th position. Also seeing John Forbes, Larry Yingling, they're battling in front of the 27. Also seeing Brian McCann have a good run as he's leading this type of a surge. But the biggest mover so far out there on track with all these little mess-ups and others, it's now Brian P. Johnson, the Season 1 champion, back in 12th place as he's up 11 position.
Brian P. Johnson running a shortened season for himself, not doing full time, but out here still running at one of the new tracks he's probably never touched in a league race here at Milwaukee Mile. So he's doing a pretty good job out there, proving why he is a prior champion as well. So Brian P. Johnson doing great, running in the 12th, making a move for the 11th position from GT Irizarry, and it looks like he will make that pass nice and clean, smooth, and without any competition from GT Irizarry. You just gotta let him by.
Great passes all around as we are officially in the second half of this race. We do want to say thank you. You might have seen it on the lower thirds of the major sponsors that have helped out here for the WSSR Cup Series, GTR simulators, as well as Trophy Smack. We want to say thank you to those sponsors as they have partnered up for this season, Season 10, GTR simulators, as great products you can check out to bring professional level simulators to home. One of their major big products that they've come together with, partnering with F1 Team Kick Salver, is checking out their GTA Compact V2 Stake F1 Kick Team Salver machine. And if you want to check out some of their other great products at GTR simulators, excuse me, go to gtrsimulators.com and use the promo code WSSR for 10% off. Also want to say thank you to Trophy Smack. WSSR has been partnered up with Trophy Smack since Season 4. They've been around for a long time with this league. Initially, it was giving out championship rings to now full-blown trophies that are customized for the season champions. As we've seen at Trophy Smack, you can find yourself with pre-made and custom-made trophies to your liking. And as well, you can find trophies, belts, rings, and more. Go to trophysmack.com today. And when purchasing again, use the promo code WSSRSMACK for 10% off. There's the trophysmack.com machine of Zach Hall, currently running 10th at the moment. Up one spot from where he started here tonight, but he has fallen back and has had to make his march forward a couple of times here tonight. And right now, Zach, I think he would take a top 10 finish with the way that this evening's been so far.
Yeah, I think Zach would definitely love a top 10 finish. He has had quite a few moments, and being back in the Hornets Nest as well, trying to dodge a lot of cars. So this is a very honest run for him to be back up here in the top 10. So he's probably a little bit more comfortable and a little bit more happy to kind of be away from the mess in the back that we have seen all race.
And we do have updates for some drivers that have been having issues as bringing out under our most recent green flag restart. Joshua Kanata, who had a blown engine after running into the pit, into the tire wall on the back stretch, he's officially called it a night. And Ross Tatum, who's got multiple laps down, he has also left the server. So we're left with just officially 26 drivers still out on track, 25 that are on the lead lap, and it's James Scioli leading the way. Christopher Wade, though, here we see the Storm Motorsports driver. He's had a lot of ups and downs in recent seasons. I know when we first watched Christopher Wade in other leagues that we covered, I think back to the Stars and Stripes League, and we've seen him in other ones as well, really is a threat at super speedways. I'm excited to see what Christopher Wade will have for us next week at Daytona. But so far, this next-gen vehicle has not been very kind to Wade, as his luck has been there, but runs 22nd in finishing the race. He's always a success for some of these drivers. Talking about success in recovery, here's the 26, so Tom Senchek, who we stated needed a yellow after his spin under green flag conditions. He got it, and now is trying to make the surge forward to get back in the top 20 where he was before that spin out.
Yeah, it's great to see the recovery from Tom Senchek, able to get the damage repaired if he had any, and stay on the lead lap. So he's, doing a good job chasing down Cedric Hunter right now, but it looks like Zach Hall is challenging Ken Campbell right now for that of 9th place, I believe. So Zach Hall trying to make that pass. He's on the inside, but we've also seen that outside have a little bit more of a run coming out of the turn. So we'll see if Ken Campbell can make that happen. But Zach not able to get quite clear of him, but looks like he's going to have a better run down the front stretch than Ken Campbell as they go into turn one together side by side.
Yeah, also, just a note, you've been seen on screen, you've also seen on our ticker, big movements going on around that 8th place spot. That's Ryan Kelly. Kelly has been notified that he is lagging very horribly. We can visually see it as well. That's what's causing our ticker to kind of fluctuate as aggressively as it has. Whenever the 3 disappears, he disappears off our ticker board, and that's why we've been seeing the weird going back and forth currently for that 8th all the way down to 14th position. As it looks like Kelly's internet has figured out how to calm down now, and now it's going to give a chance for Kelly to fight back on Brian Noel as well. Give Zach Hall and Ken Campbell a chance to see where is the 3 if they want to have an attempt to go for a pass. As this field is slowly closing in on that lap 100 marker. Looking at the timing of that last yellow that we had, fuel's not an option. But I'm curious, Richard, if tires could be an option for these drivers. With the way we were seeing the handling really fall off after 25 laps of green flag racing, this field might think about maybe splitting this up, or you feel like you have to stay out on track and just trust that you can keep this car underneath you.
Yeah, that's the big question a lot of these drivers are going to have to try and make. But, I mean, the tire fall off of the times don't seem that heavy. I mean, some of the fastest times they've ran are in the low, just about cresting the 31 second, just below it. But I mean, the times they're running right now is only about 7 to 8 tenths off the normal times, if not even less. So it's definitely a hard decision to make to decide if you want to make a pit just for tires or not. We're running out. I mean, based on the top fall off right now, I would almost say it's willing to just stay out and run out that fuel tank and only pit whenever there's a caution. So I think cautions are going to be the deciding factor. And there it is. The caution is out.
Are you calling it will happen? Cody Reed in the 25 machine makes it a turn 2 with cell spin for himself as he was watching drivers snapping loose in front of him. And ultimately it was the 25 that goes around as he was exiting out of turn number 2. We'll see here on the setup into turn 1. And just the fact of it's so difficult once this vehicle wants to go. I mean, Richard, you have experience racing on Tuesday nights in the BRB Cup Series. You used to run these vehicles with WSSR in the past. I mean, these are the toughest vehicles to save once they decide it's time to snap loose.
It is. They are very, very tough cars to try and save from a spin. And a lot of the times, I mean, he did a good job there, kind of keeping the car spinning towards the inside and was able to get it turned to the other way just in time before he pulled a Chad Wilkes and Joshua Kanata situation. But yeah, when these cars want to turn, they want to turn. And sometimes if you overcorrect too much, like we saw with Christopher Norris earlier, they just want to snap. So Cody Reed actually doing a fairly good job keeping that car, you know, sideways and not snapping anywhere and not completely spinning around. So that was actually really good real work and really good driving by Cody Reed there.
No contact with any other drivers or the wall, so the 25 gets to continue to race on. The rest of the field get ready for this restart. Any other strategies thinking about being made? Looking at pit stops, no one gambling for 2 tires. Everyone's staying with 4. And I'm curious if we'll see anyone later on in this race think about taking 2 tires, as with the stage, saw a lot of drivers attempting a chance to just take track position. It looked like what I saw, Richard, you could tell me if I'm wrong on this, it seemed like 2 tires really did work, but only for about 3 laps, and then you really started to fall off. As here's your top 5 currently: James Scioli, Vincent Sora, Larry Yingling, as well as John Forbes Jr. and Jarrett Talmadge. But 2-tire strategy, I think it has to be a last-minute call at the end of this race if it's going to work.
Yeah, if it's a 2-tire strategy call, if you're going to take 2 tires, it's going to be a 2-tire call with like 10 or 15 laps to go, because Douglas Newbiging did a really good job with his 2-tire stop earlier to get track position. But I think after about 4 or 5 laps, it started to slowly dissipate a little bit, and he was losing a little bit of pace. So 2-tire strategy can work, but it's not going to be for a long run. So they're going to have to wait later in the run with not as many laps left. So it'll be fun to see when these laps tick down and we have a later caution to see if that strategy will come into play, as drivers will move up the field quite a bit with only taking 2 tires versus 4.
As we're about to go green, thank you so much for joining with us on Wednesday nights with the WSSR. We will be back to 2 races a week coverage. February 24th, ISRC Truck Series is back to racing action as they get prepared for Season 8. For us, we're back to green flag action here tonight in the Milwaukee Mile. James Scioli, great launch for himself. It's going to be side by side for second position. Vincent Sora, Larry Yingling hoping to keep a nose at least close to the center of the 51. As Scioli really holding back Yingling, didn't allow him to really take off and go. And our top 3 able to get almost in line. It's the battling for 4th now. Going to be side by side is Jared Talmadge. He wants to get right back and gaining more positions, as his real best race of the season is showing out still for the 27.
Yeah, he is doing a masterful work tonight as he's making a move on John Forbes, one of the heavy hitters here in WSSR, second in points as well. So Jared Talmadge really giving it to these guys up front as he is trying to make a move, still not giving up that inside line to Forbes. Forbes is going to move a little high. That might give Jared Talmadge a great run off the turn to be able to try to make that pass going into 1, but they're still going to sit side by side, and Forbes with a better run on the outside.
Yeah, as well as having the blinking number 3, and that's got cause in the mirror a little nervous. Is the 3 going to be inside of me? Is going to back off? Do they even know where each other are on track? And it spooks some drivers, enables others, and John Ford's great run. He's still having nose ahead over Jared Talmadge, finally able to make the pass, and now it gets tricky because now you got the blinking driver to the outside. If you're Jared Talmadge, now you don't know if you're going to be fully clear off the exit of the corner. Instead, Kelly, big loose and loss of momentum, not able to keep himself rolling, and he'll lose 3 positions after that one mistake. Might even lose even more as the 3 continues to stay high. We hop on board with GT Irizarry, who Irizarry at one moment stayed out with everyone else pitting and just lost so much time, was the cause of an incident that brought out a late caution during the stage, and now the 14 is recovered up to 11th place. This is a great job by himself, as well as the 7 to Douglas Newbiging in 10th, right ahead of him.
Yeah, Douglas Newbiging back up to where he started, but GT Irizarry is doing, just another one of those drivers that we don't normally see up here in the front. He is doing a wonderful job in this recovery run from an earlier accident. So he's got Ryan Kelly in his sights right now, who has lost quite a few positions from that little slip-up he had. So we'll see if GT Irizarry can get something. We got another caution on the field.
And it's a pretty nasty one. Multiple drivers involved with this, and Tom Sinchek involved with another one. As the 26 spun around, and that was around that 18th to around 24th position, or they were around 2-3 wide for a majority of the run. I think they just finally calmed down at the time of this incident happening, and it's going to be Chris Stitz as well as Tom Sinchek trying to get around the 50 machine of Garcia ahead of him, and it did not work out for the 26 machine.
No, it did not. As we got a replay here to see exactly what had happened. Tom Sinchek leading those 2. Chris Stitz gets a little loose, but it was in front of him. It was the Samuel Garcia in front of him that smacked the wall, which got Tom Sinchek loose, and he went head on into the wall, but great evasive maneuvers by the drivers behind. That was a very strange accident, as it was started with Garcia coming out of turn 2 and smacking the wall.
Yeah, just trying to avoid as best as they can, and simply just tapped and clipped was the 26 as Garcia just gets on the throttle and felt a slight looseness, overcorrected just a little bit too much when he felt it snap loose, and right into the outside wall and collecting others with him. And right there, just a simple mistake, and it's so easy to make that mistake. If you're trying to catch the car, that's the thing with, virtual racing over real life racing, is you can really, when you have the force feedback in a wheel, when it drops and you lose that force feedback and you feel that looseness kick in, Richard, your body almost instinctually tells you crank the wheel the other way to try to save it because its car's about to go loose.
Yeah, instinctually, you definitely want to turn it the opposite way that car is trying to slide. But I mean, without, like you said, without being in an actual race car, it's hard to feel that all the time. We have force feedback on our steering wheels, and sometimes people even have extra haptic systems on their sim rigs or their seats, like the butt kicker that helps with a little bit of feel and chatter of those tires. But these cars, like we were talking about earlier, they do like to snap after they get a little loose. So that kind of looked like that's what that was. Garcia did a good job not completely snapping that car straight into the wall, but it caused an unfortunate situation for Tom Sidchek, who did hit the wall with his nose. Hopefully he's got that repaired and back out on track, and he can make up some ground that he lost.
Looks like was able to at least stay on the lead lap was the 26 machine. Garcia, on the other hand, has called a night as he has left the server. We're left with 25 drivers out there on track, all on the lead lap. And for some drivers, it's been a long evening. They can't wait for this race to be over. And congratulations, we're into the final third of this race, as it is going to be 44 laps to go when we go green here. Pace car makes the hard left-hander hit pit road. And now this race in the hands of James Scioli on the inside. Green flag is out. 77 gets to the line, moves up, and already seeing some shuffles by the 00 of Brian Noel behind him. But it is a clean launch for at least our top 6.
Yeah, clean launch, especially for Scioli. Gets a huge jump to the front there, but that was a wild move by the 00 Brian Noel to get back to the bottom of the track. And who's right behind him but Christopher Norris? He has had also a nice recovery run to get back up here, and there's one car going really wide behind him on the outside of the turn.
That's Ryan Ferraro in the 10 machine. Slightly older tires, as some of the pack decide to go into pit road and get tires. And oh no, Douglas Newbegin and Cody Reed make contact down into turn number 1. And drivers spin around, and what could have been and should have been a big wreck, instead is just a driver spinning and going sideways. Oh boy, Richard, that had markings of absolute disaster. And Cody Reed with a big slide and save, and the rest of the field, great awareness not to just run him over.
Yeah, it was great awareness by all the drivers, and not sure what this was, if it was just a missed brake zone for Newbigging, but not only did he get into Cody Reed, but he also went up and got into Ali Fonseca as well. So Douglas Newbigging is starting to feel the pressure of the points with only these last 2 races left of this regular season before the playoffs start. So that could be what have made that decision, but that was just a missed brake zone for him. But no other cars involved, just a little bitty slide from Cody Reed brings out the caution, and that's definitely going to be some new tires for Cody Reed, because he got those really hot and really angry. We'll see if he dives into the pits to get some service.
It's a little bit further back. You're getting a sense of how the drivers are trying to react around one another, out to be preparing through a full lap of what the 7 was seeing, as he was attempting to go on the outside to get by Ali Fonseca, already attempting to get by the 24 here. Move really was not sticking to get by him, staying side by side, and sometimes you get focused in. At that moment was 3 wide, and I think just a lack of judgment of where he was on track because he was 3 wide, and how close of trying to beat out and get ahead of the competition that was around the 7.
Yeah, just trying to beat the competition. He's, like I said, he's feeling the pressure on points as he's in the pits getting some tires and service done as well to his Chevy Camaro there, that number 7. But drivers are going to rack up, get side by side again, as the lights on the pace car should be coming off this next time around, and we'll be going back to green flag racing. But great job by everybody. No other cars really involved in that situation. That's what you like to see. Keeps drivers out on track, keeps the racing interesting and fun, and more points for everyone when they're trying to chase down that playoff berth.
16 drivers will make the playoffs after next week's race at Daytona. Don't want to miss it, as the drivers will be taking these next-gen cars to the old configuration of Daytona 08, a very extremely bumpy course. And based off the testing sessions that the drivers have had, it is going to be a handful. Drivers are expecting to snap loose randomly. They're expecting bumps to be difficult to make. And it is going to turn these next-gen cars that are known for big runs, maybe be a big danger to watch out for. You don't want to miss it. Next week, going to be the regular season finale for these WSSR Cup Series drivers before we figure out the 16 that will race for the championship as we head to the playoffs in 2 weeks. James Scioli, Vincent Soar going to be your top 2 here as we get ready for this restart, as well as John Forbes Jr., Larry Yingling, Zach Hall, and Jared Talmadge going to be your top 6, as well as going to be seeing Brian McCann, Brian Noel, Ryan Kelly, and Christopher Norris going to be finishing out our top 10. Some drivers decided to go into pit road under our last caution. Watch out for Brian P. Johnson back in 15th, as well as everyone from 17th on back. They got fresh rubber, but how will that assist them here on this restart? It's 39 laps to go as we're back to green flag racing, and it's James Scioli who gets another great launch, but Vincent Sora timing it a little bit better that go around. And Richard, this is going to be a thing of more cautions we have, the better it could suit for Sora, who settles in second.
Yeah, Vincent Sora is able to settle in second. He did have a better restart, trying to stay side by side with Scioli, but he is stuck on that outside, goes a little wide, and that'll get him a little tight, and that will allow Yingling to make the pass and get around him. So back to third place for Vincent Sora, and he's still being challenged for like that of John Forbes, who's also trying to make a move on Vincent Sora, and Sora still duck a little higher than what he wants. He might have a little bit of a run, able to cut down and maybe drive a little bit straighter off the turn, and he will have a better run to John Forbes into turn 3.
Take that little win in the battle between these two. The history of John Forbes, Vincent Sora, that's been growing on Monday nights. Both drivers expected to move on and not returning for Season 8 of the iRacing Truck Series, so their rivalry will stick here in the WSSR. It has been fun to always see the 11 and 51 going back and forth. Speaking about back and forth, Jared Talmadge and Brian Noel, these two going back and forth. We saw it under our last restart. These drivers were side by side. The restart before that, and they continue to be right next to one another. Christopher Norris, because of drivers pitting for tires 2 cautions ago, 38 rewarded with track position, and now he's into the fight for these inside of the top 10 positions.
Christopher Norris up here now cresting into the top 10, sitting in the 7th or 8th place next to Jared Talmadge. He's trying to make a move, but Jared holding strong on that outside line there as they get door to door. Norris gets a little loose, and Zach Hall in front of them also getting a little tight, making the move. Brian Noel underneath him. So a great 2x2 racing right here between these 4 drivers from 5th on back to 7th. So Christopher Norris doing a great job trying to make the move, but Noel is trying to finalize that pass on Zach Hall in front of him as well.
On their best, not able to fully secure it just yet. Zach Hall, Brian Noel continue to be side by side battling for position, as well as Jared Talmadge and Christopher Norris. You see on screen slight contact with the 38. A little bit too antsy into the initial corner, and these drivers willing to not give a lot of space as they're pinching down in the corner. They know they have to stay down on that asphalt. It is so hard to get around these corners when you move up to the groove on the concrete. Jared Talmadge, right when he saw that opening, drop down. Quick, efficient movements like that, they work out for the 27. And for now, these drivers are single filed out from the majority of the field. James Scioli still leads the way. Talmadge, though, trouble as he goes through turn 1. And Richard, I mean, just like that, you go from, okay, we're secured to, oh no, we just lost all of our spots.
Yeah, that was not a situation he wanted to see. He did get into the back of Christopher Norris going into turn 1 there, and then got into his quarter panel, but he came out the loser in that situation as he got loose, and he was able to do a good job and pump the brake as Douglas Newbigging almost completely destroys those pit road barrels, but gets close, but doesn't hit them, and he's still making his move up through the field as well as he's chasing the win here at the Milwaukee Mile.
I thought we were going to see some deja vu of what we just saw from Ben Kinney earlier with Douglas Newbigging, but luckily kept it off that inside wall. We also have an update for a driver has exited early, going to be 25th position, Danny Cochran. He has called it an evening. As, oh, trouble behind, it's the 25, and Cody Reed gets spun around again. Luckily able to slow up before the pipe. Going to be the water barrels of the 25's night just continues to go up in smoke.
Another spin for Cody Reed. He is not liking this track. He is just struggling all sorts of ways. It just seems like people just getting into him almost, or he just losing it there. Let's watch as he comes out of turn 4, and it does look like he just got a little loose, but then gets spun from behind. He might have been able to save it, but got the help to finish him off and just a little tap on that inside wall, but it keeps him out of those barrels on pit road entrance. So good work again by Cody Reed, but another unfortunate spin for him. He's got to be happy that they do not have a tire limit tonight.
You know what's crazy? I'm looking at the tire limit, right? And then there's a couple of drivers that have gone way over what the tire limit was going to be of 5 initially, having tires in pit road to work with. Cody Reed has pitted the least amount of times of all the drivers that have been out there on track. He's only pitted 3 times. Now he's still in the same tire set of those that are leading this race currently, pitting 23 laps to go, but I'm actually kind of shocked. Cody Reed, again, he took that opportunity not to pit earlier that gave him track position. I think now, like I said, it might as well use those tires as everyone in the field expected to hit pit road, except for a few. Gonna be Cedric Hunter staying out, Nick Crawford staying out, Justin Malarkey stays out. Those are gonna be your 3 that are risking it on 16-lap-old tires as the field enters into their boxes. And the Milwaukee Mile not pit road set up for next-gen cars, as our producer in our ear got a little bit nervous seeing drivers getting into their boxes. Some drivers are actually on top of one another with how these boxes are set up to go into pit road and leaving out of the box. It's going to be actually Vincent Sora, John Forbes, Brian P. Johnson, 2-tire call for themselves. Those 3 will advance forward. James Scioli falls back to 7th on this restart.
Here we go, and that's the strategy call we were talking about earlier with the 2 tire decisions, and it looks like Vincent Sora is going to be one of those benefactors of taking 2 tires to get that track position. We'll see how long he can hold those tires on, but Vincent Sora, he is really good at saving his tires in those long runs, so this might really work out for him, just taking those tires and getting position. So but yeah, that was great work, and 3 cars staying out. Nick Crawford, Cedric Hunter, and Justin Malarkey. Interesting call by them, but I guess track position is more important than fresh tires.
I mean, also for those drivers of Malarkey, Nick Crawford, Cedric Hunter, they did pit under our last caution before this one that we just had. So they're only on 16-lap older tires than the competition around them, and they were able to keep decent pace with those that are around them. So why not give it a chance, see what you've got. Justin Malarkey did pit on our final restart of last caution that we had, so he's on 12-lap old tires. Expecting the 73 to have a little bit of a better chance than our top 2, but this restart, it's going to be a handful. It's going to be a tough one because everyone from 4th on back is waiting to pounce on our top 3 and take their positions away quickly. Vincent Sora's going to be in the prime spot to take these spots immediately on the outside, but he needs a good launch by Nick Crawford. Cedric Hunter, on the other hand, is the control vehicle as we are back to Green Flag Racing here at Milwaukee. Less than 30 laps to go, and it's the 13 Hello Kitty machine taking off and going, but it's John Forbes muscling his way, getting Malarkey high, but it's given a chance for Scioli to force it 3 wide down into turn number 3.
John Forbes getting into the bumper, a little bit of Malarkey there in turn 1, but John Forbes overshooting the turn is going to push high. That will open the door for Scioli as he looks low, and John Forbes entered the door. Malarkey, he's going to get sideways, is able to save it, but he's going to lose another 2 or 3 positions as that did not work out for him at all, as it looks like Larry Yingling and Brian Noel is now trying to make a move as well as they get door to door.
Just waltzed and tapped into one another, and every contact, the handling wants to fade away, and John Ford's wheelmanship proved to be steady there, but it's Malarkey missing the entry hard into the outside wall as he got into Yingling, and Malarkey's attempt to stay out for track position backfires as the faster drivers just have no time to wait. Everyone knows these restarts are your prime opportunities to make passes. You need to make them now, and Zach Hall hits the inside wall, and disaster strikes for the 1 machine.
That was John Forbes that caused that accident. John Forbes into the back of Zach Hall. That is 2 drivers back-to-back turns that he did that to, because he actually got into Malarkey earlier. It wasn't Malarkey missing the turn. It was Forbes giving him a push into the turn. So he does it here to Malarkey, and in the next turn he does it to Zach Hall, which that might be the end of Zach's night, because that was a hard hit and a motor expired as well as they come out of turn 4 here on the replay. John Forbes losing positions, gets in right behind Zach Hall, and this is where the caution comes out. Zach Hall dives into the turn, but John Forbes not slowing down enough and just shoots Zach Hall straight into that inside pit wall.
And for John Forbes, I mean, those are moves that he has made in the past in other leagues with drivers that recognize that John Forbes is going to be making the dive bomb move, and it sticks for the 11 machine. But if someone blocks that move by the 11, those situations happen. And it's that's hard spot of a driver's trying to defend his position. It's late in the race. You're willing to block and make passes, but John Forbes, big moves are costing him now. When he used to get away with those moves because drivers would just be too scared to block him at times. Drivers are now getting a little bit more of, okay, well, we got to slow this 11's momentum down, and it is hurting those that are being bumped by the 11 machine. We'll see if Zach Hall's able to get back out there on track. It is not looking probable that he will get out there on track with the extent of his damage. But with drivers that decided to pit under this yellow, we got Jared Talmadge, Tom Sinchek, Justin Malarkey, Shane Tarian, and Zach Hall, who had to take the toe to pit road. Up front, it's Cedric Hunter, who decided to stay out. Same for Nick Crawford. They run first and third. Vincent Sora starts in second. And Richard, I mean, this is a great job for Cedric Hunter and Nick Crawford, able to hold their positions where they're at right now. And they're going to try their best on this next restart to do the same.
Yeah, they definitely did a good job defending those positions currently, but that also wasn't a very long run. So, I mean, you had Justin Malarkey, who fell like a rock and then got a huge bump from John Forbes into the turn there. So these two, I mean, they're in good position. But again, that tire difference is going to be huge in a later run. So we'll see how long they can maintain their positions right now with just under or just over 20 laps to go in this race. So who knows, they might be able to pull out a top 10 still, but I do not think that this is going to be a race for the win for those two drivers.
Who can survive, or will the cautions continue to mount up? It's going to be the true question here for this restart. Again, talked about it. We will be back to 2 races a week. February 24th, the ISRC Season 8 will start as they had Daytona to start the season off. Cannot wait for it, as that will be the time that we also enter into the playoffs for the WSSR Cup Series. As Cedric Hunter, Vincent Sora, Nick Crawford, your top 3. They're going to try their best. It's your 2 drivers on the inside, though. They're on the oldest tires of everyone out on track. 2-tire call for Vincent Sora in second. 4 tires for James Scioli, Yingling, and Noel behind as we're back to green flag action. Hunter, decent launch, able to clear over Sora, but it's the run off the exit of the corner. If the 51 can get it, it might be a chance for a pass down in turn number 3.
Going into turn 3, Cedric Hunter still a decent lead over Vincent Sora, but Vincent Sora is not going to let him have that lightly, as he is still trying to make some moves with those little bit of fresher tires on the outside of his car. But Cedric Hunter might be feeling the pain of having older tires here soon, as Vincent Sora is looking to the outside. He's going to try to make a move, but Cedric Hunter drives a little bit harder on the inside to stay in front, and he'll be able to maintain the lead right now. But Vincent Sora coming in for the crossover, but blinks out, and he's back. That was a quick blink out for Vincent Sora, like we were seeing with Ryan Kelly, but a quick blink, back on track, and now he's underneath Cedric Hunter to try to make the pass for the lead.
Cedric Hunter going to have to get a good launch off the exit of the corner. He needs to keep the nose ahead, but oh no! Slide and spin! Hunter going to be slamming on the brakes. Johnson gets by, and because he wasn't sideways enough, we stay green. Hunter goes from the lead, now all the way down to 22nd position, and Vincent Sora loving the fact he's gifted over a half a second lead over Yingling and also Scioli, but drivers further on back, I don't know if they're going to keep it clean and green, because the drivers from 16th on back, they are stacked on top of one another, and it's a lot of hungry drivers that need big points here tonight.
And that was a 0-0 moment for Cedric Hunter. Just unfortunate, staying up there in the top 2 there, and just could not keep that car going straight again, and he falls way far back. But huge, he still has a good chance here. He's going to hope for a caution for sure, get some new tires, and try to make his charge back through the field. But it's still very possible. A lot of these drivers back here stacked on top of each other, and you got Jared Talmadge, who is making passes again, trying to work his way up through the field as well.
As driver has to go on pit road. That's going to be the 73 of Justin Malarkey. And a lap prior, GT Rosari got his rear end absolutely pushed in by Ollie Fonseca in turn number 1. That also probably should have brought out a yellow, but didn't. There have been multiple incidences that are starting to space out the field to a point where we could stay green from here on out, but it's the back half of the field that's going to be the ones that are the closest to one another. As Shane Tarian, who's had a couple of spins, Tom Senchek, who's had a couple of spins, they all linger here back around that 18th to 20th position, trying to move their way forward as Ollie Fonseca, kind of the safety valve that's holding back this group. See if anyone can get by him. We move up, though, inside of our top 10 as the 74, Nick Crawford. He's the highest runner of those on the oldest of tires and currently runs 9th. This is not a bad run for himself, but behind him, the 7 of Douglas Newbegin has another big slide as he'll stay pointed straight, though, even with the mistakes that he's having.
Yeah, Douglas Newbegin is having one heck of a night with his slides and spins, but still up there running close to the top 10. So if he hadn't had all those mistakes, he might have been up there competing for the top 5 or even a potential win. But great recovery from him, still trying to make his way back up the field. Still has time. The win might be out of his hands, though. But James Scioli up here in the front, running 2nd place currently. And Vincent Sora just has a phenomenal lead of 0.7 of a second, so he almost could be running away from this, but we'll see if those 2 tires can last, and these cars on 4 tires will be able to reel him in closer to the end of this race.
That's the big thing. 2 tires versus 4, but Vincent Sora is also, when they're on equal footing, has been the faster driver in the long run. 51 with this slight advantage could be equaling them out, or can James Scioli find a little bit of extra speed with 15, soon to be 14 laps to go here tonight? We're left with a total of 22 drivers on the lead lap, as Justin Malarkey has been able to get back out on track after getting damage repairs done. Zach Hall still lingers in pit road. His night looks to be completely kaput. So it's 22 drivers that are looking for these positions, and no, these final 14 going to be soon 13 laps. I mean, Richard, this is the impossible laps of what are your tires going to feel like in the next 2 to 3 laps when you're pushing everything you've got underneath you to get these positions that are so close to you.
Yeah, and I think the benefit Vincent Sora has right now is he is in completely clean air. James Scioli basically is in clean air as well, except when he starts getting closer to Vincent Sora, he's going to get that dirty air from the draft of Sora, which will affect how that car turns and handles in the turns. So it's going to be interesting to see what these 4 tires can do versus the 2 of Vincent Sora. But Sora's doing a really good job maintaining those tires, keeping them basically happy and not getting them angry at himself. So not making that car any more loose than it already is on this track. So doing a good job maintaining that lead, but Scioli is definitely reeling in that gap as it's now only, it looks like a 0.5 of a second gap.
The last lap, gain of 10th, was James Scioli over Vincent Sora, so there are slight gains that are happening. I'm also keeping an eye out on the battling going on around 10th, 11th, and 12th place, as it's Nick Crawford on old tires sent to the outside, and it will be a caution thrown.
Oh, Nick Crawford, an unfortunate spin. Older tires could have played a factor in that. We'll find out in the replay, but there it is, a late caution. This is something like Cedric Hunter, who fell back from that spin. He's definitely going to get a break from that, get some fresh tires, and get moving through the field again. But this is going to be where the interesting strategies happen now. Who's going to come in and who's going to stay out? With very few laps left, but Nick Crawford here on the backstretch coming out of turn 2. He is kind of all over the place, a little loose, but here it is about to happen. It does look like he just kind of gets loose by himself, gets into Douglas Newbegin a little bit.
He just got into the throttle way sooner than the 7, and that contact just unsettles the weight, and away he goes to 74. Douglas also had to try to save that thing with the contact that was made. A few drivers getting small taps here or there, but with the timing of this caution, it's going to be less than 10 laps to go. And if you pit now, you're going to have a 20-lap advantage on tires. But we've got ourselves a large majority of the field staying out on track. 14 drivers stay out. James Scioli from 2nd all the way down to 15th position and took 2 tires. Douglas Newbigging also took 2 tires back in 16th place. John Forbes takes 4. They are going to have to make the run of the night, and one of the best runs you could ask for if they are going to win this race, or at least salvage how much time's going to be left, because with less than 10 laps to go, I mean, I don't know if we're going to be seeing these big moves happen. You're going to have to go 3 wide all the way around this track to get back up to the lead with maybe 2 laps to go.
And I don't see those 2 tires being enough to pass that many cars that quickly either. And that was a major gamble from James Scioli. He was in 2nd place. That is huge track position. And he thought that if he pit and Sora stayed out, that everybody would have followed him. But that was not the case. Everyone was preferred the track position over tires because they've only been out for 20 laps. So I don't know. That was probably not the best move from Scioli, but that was a gamble for sure. But we'll see as fireworks are about to come down it'll be 8 laps to go when we take the green flag this time around.
Who is willing to really throw it all on the table for a best finish that you could ask for? Some drivers are having a season best race. Some are looking for a playoff charge. This is one of your final attempts to set up for a chance to make the playoffs as we have our final race of the regular season next week at Daytona. But with 8 laps to go, the pace car pulls off into pit road. Vincent Sora, 20 lap older tires than those from 15th on back. Take off and go. You can already see that Christmas tree building up further on back as they're 3 wide back for 13th place. But up front, it's all Vincent Sora.
Oh, and Douglas Newbigging is spinning in the back, and there it is, another caution. I was about to say, I don't think we're going to go green for the rest of this race. But there was some huge tire spins on the restart, that of like John Forbes as well, who got a little loose on the restart. But Douglas Newbigging, he is not having a night that he wants to remember as he is around again and brings out yet another caution near the end of this race.
And for Douglas here, I mean, it's simply the fact that if he was trying to set up a pass off the exit of the corner, Ryan Ferraro, though, could not accelerate and just gets on the throttle, gets also tapped by Brian P. Johnson in the 7. Just cannot find a way to stay pointed in the right direction here tonight, as it has been a dismal evening where he had some great pace to be one of the drivers up front here tonight. But the gamble of 2 tires, I mean, Douglas has been the one who's gone for these gambles of 2 tires all night long. It's worked for track position, but it also comes with the other side of the coin of he's also spun out almost every time that he's gone for 2.
Yeah, he definitely has. I don't think 2 tires has been the strategy call for him, just not able to keep that car underneath him. Of course, he had a little bit of help that time trying to set up a pass, so I couldn't say that maybe it was a 2-tire reasoning there, but it's just, oh man, just a rough day for Douglas Newbigging, who is trying to get that win. He wants into the playoffs, and I think at this point, he's looking towards Daytona and hoping to have one of the best runs he's had in a while.
Yeah, a lot of drivers, I think, with the way they've ran here tonight, it has got to be a win in your in scenario next week at the 2008 configuration to Daytona. If you're just joining us, well, it's the perfect time. We're getting ready for a less than 5 lap dash to the end of this thing. But we've had 11 cautions, counting this one that we're currently having. We've also had a lot of lead changes, up to 9 so far. We've been green for most of the race. These restarts have been under caution, have been very quick. I think it's kind of caught some of the drivers off guard. It's been fun to get back to the racing action very quickly. But Richard, I mean, 11 cautions. We saw some long green flag runs in the middle of this race, but this is crunch time. And James Scioli, who was 2nd, went into pit road under our last yellow. Hasn't gained much. He's only gained 2 spots because we got that caution so quickly.
Yeah, but I think, he might have gained those 2 spots, but I don't think the cautions are over for this race. I think we might enter into some overtime racing as well. Because, I mean, you have these cars on newer tires in the back, and as you saw that last accident, they stacked up heavy into the turns. So even Scioli was getting into the back of another driver and almost got them sideways as well. So it's not over yet. These drivers are still going to try to push their way through this field and get to the front. So we'll see how many more cautions are left in these guys, or maybe they can finally just get it straight and keep this race going under green.
as our top 12 are on old tires. It's 13th and 14th position. James Scioli and Jared Talmadge on the freshies. They've got a lot of work to catch up to Vincent Sora and Larry Yingling with a pace car. About to give us a 4-lap shootout. Do we stay green to the end, or do we need overtime? It's go time for the drivers up front. Yingling as well as Sora go down into turn number 1. They will stay side by side. Noel right there on the back bumper of these two. Slight contact for Yingling. He goes rushing high. Behind them, though, they keep it straight for now. They're 2-3 wide. Terrian's trying to hold back. The Lexus is going to be the 26 as well as the 77. Under contact for the lead. Sora got moved by Yingling. Noel is on the inside for first. And Brian McCann also in the mixture.
Oh my gosh, Sora out of the lead. A little bump from Yingling causes that, but they are still side by side. Ole Fonseca is sideways, gets hit by Cody Reed. That will bring out another caution.
That's
Scioli on 3 more cars. Sora, Starion, and GT Irizarry. A lot of drivers involved, some of them just getting sideways, but a decent wreck and another caution to bring out here at the race.
And where did he come from? Christopher Norris. Right before the caution, forced 3 wide. The 38 is second with this caution flag coming out. And there's the big move. Ole Fonseca went for everything, and the gamble didn't work out. Spins around and it collects a few more. And I don't know if we can go back a few more seconds before that and see the move for the 51 of Vincent Sora on how he lost the lead to Larry Yingling. We'll take another look here at this incident. As you see the 51, he was trying his best to stay in front, but here is going to be the restart. And was got a fabulous launch, but Richard, I mean, just one tap, and Sora goes from a thought of victories in hand to now he's in overtime back in 21st position.
Yeah, and that's all it takes is one tap. We've seen it a lot through a lot of these drivers. Just one little tap. These cars are already loose as it is, and just one small tap can get it upset. He did a good job keeping the car under control and out of the wall, so it still keeps him in contention for at least a lead lap finish. But that is a heavy, heavy drop for Vincent Sora, as he was also involved in the car spinning in turn 1 and 2 as well.
James Scioli again involved in that incident. A little bit of nose damage for himself, but not required damage. 51 will drop all the way down to 20th place and going to be getting some pit road service done. Tires, fuel, GT Irizarry as well going to be joining into that decision. But up front, your now top 7 are on old tires. 8th is where we find James Scioli. Jared Talmadge back in 10th. Chris Stitz runs in 9th. But the 38 of Christopher Norris at one moment brought out one of our earlier wrecks. He is now in a position. Same for Brian McCann, for Brian Noel. I mean, these are the perfect chance to get yourself in a victory lane and to lock yourself into the playoffs and not worry about Daytona next week.
Yeah, that is for sure. And man, to have Christopher Norris up there in second, been pretty quiet all race for the most part, with the exception of the one caution that he did kind of get caused. But he's up here in second, racing for the win now against Larry Yingling. But Brian McCann, who is also really quick in practice, really quick qualifying, qualified 4th, he's up there to pounce as well. He wants this win just as much as anybody else to lock himself into the playoffs and make Daytona just kind of a fun race instead of a nervous wreck.
Well, if you're just joining us, well, welcome to the show. We officially entered into overtime. We have 3 attempts if needed. We are under our first on this restart. It's going to be a 2 laps to go scenario, green, white, checkered. If we get a caution in this first lap, we will then head into our second attempt. But if we stay clean and green and we take the white flag, this race is official. The next flag will be the checkered. These drivers know this first lap's so critical. Put yourself in a position for a chance for a win or a good finish. And if there's a caution behind, hope you're in a good lane on the next restart. Pace car into pit road, the Milwaukee Mile, race number 11. Overtime attempt number 1 is underway, and Yingling with the great launch. Norris trying to defend for second, but Brian McCann, nose is there. Norris cuts it off, and Yingling trying to pull away as Norris back to the throttle.
Norris back in the throttle, trying to chase down Yingling to get the lead, but Scioli is back there taking things 3 wide and moving through the field as quickly as he can. Let's see if the drivers can keep the car straight out of 4, because if they take the white flag, this race will be official. Scioli getting the back of Ryan Kelly a little bit, but Yingling will take the white flag right before there was cars spinning, but the yellow will not be out. This race is official as they race around for the white flag of this race.
Your white flag presented by Freaky Fast Broadcasting. It's Larry Yingling trying to stay ahead. 3/10 is the difference. Norris is losing touch for a win, but he's trying to defend behind him. Scioli might attempt for a top 5 finish, but as the drivers wrecked at a 4 on the previous lap, they've cleared way. Larry Yingling has been waiting for a win, and why not give it to him? Might have been a little controversial, but Yingling takes the victory here in the Milwaukee Mile.
A phenomenal win for Larry Yingling, who was not that confident coming into tonight's race without hitting this track at all very much. Little practice, little knowledge, but on top, the skill was proven. Larry Yingling, your winner here at the Milwaukee Mile.
I mean, the 3-time WSSR champ. It has been a while since we've seen him in victory lane. And for the longest time, it was always talked about, are you willing to give the bumper? If you have your friends in front of you, are you willing to make that move that will give you a chance for a win? All in the past, he would say no, and sometimes it would just give the win away. Tonight, though, he took it and said, that's mine, and the Milwaukee Mile goes to the 67 of Larry Yingling. We also want to say congratulations to Christopher Norris, Brian McCann. We'll talk to them in the post-race show, as we will be back right after this. What a finish! Congratulations to Yingling. We'll be back right after this one. Welcome back to the post-race show for the WSSR Cup Series. Race number 11 of Season 10 is in the books, and it went to a spectacular finish with Larry Yingling in overtime, taking the win. For some, it could have been a little bit of that tap on Vincent Sora that gave him the best chance for that victory. Thought maybe we would see someone else retaliate. Didn't happen. Instead, we head to victory lane to talk to the three-time champ who's finally in victory lane this season. We got the 67 of Larry Yingling. Larry, congratulations on this win. It's Sam and Richard up at the booth. How are you feeling after this one? Because it's been a while, but you're finally back with the win column.
Well, it's definitely mixed feelings. It's been over a year since I won a race in WSSR, at least. But I feel like I got into Vinny there, and I definitely was not intending to do that. I believe I got into him. I don't know. It was pretty close. But mid race, I took less fuel at one point, and I don't know if that really helped a lot, but it seemed to make it a little bit more stable in the center. And I made my way up to somewhere top 5, I believe. And then I didn't take fuel again, just to see. And then it just, when I'm not in dirty air, it just made me extremely loose. Then I'll just fall back. And especially if you get outside that little, that newer asphalt on the bottom of the corner, since it's very loose.
Yeah, well, I talked to you earlier before the race started, Larry, and you didn't have a lot of practice here, hadn't really been on track, and kind of wasn't really looking forward to the race. But I mean, after this performance, I mean, going into Daytona, how you going to treat next week? I know you're pretty much locked into the playoffs, not really going to lose out of the top 15. But how you feeling going into Daytona? How you going to treat it?
Just have fun. You can lead every lap or be in the back, and something big can happen. And I mean, really anything can happen there. And it's the old Daytona, so that'll be pretty fun. And never driven these cars there, so I hope it feels pretty good.
We hope for that as well, Larry. I know with the playoffs right around the corner, what is your confidence level seeing the competition the way it's been this season and for your hopes to go for a championship and go for number 4?
Well, for better or worse, I'm a realist, whatever that term would be. So I know probably 5 people immediately has a lot better chance than me. So I just gotta stay consistent. Try to capitalize on if someone else makes a mistake, and really just see where it gets me. I gotta get through Watkins Glen first, and then I can try to see what kind of speed I got.
Well, Larry, it was a pleasure to watch you race here tonight. Congratulations on this win. And before we let you go, the floor is now yours for any other shout outs.
Definitely shout out my teammates this race: Ryan Kelly, Chad Wilkes, and Brian McCann, along with Kevin Hashbrown. And thanks to my sponsors, Cody Glencock's Music and Port City Cards on Instagram. Big shout out to you guys. And sorry to Vinny again. I'm pretty sure I got into him, but I think he saved it though. But it definitely cost him.
Well, that will be your victor here tonight for race number 11. Larry Yingling gets into victory lane. Congratulations, Larry, and good luck next week at Daytona.
Thank you, sir.
As we move from victory lane, we go down to second place to talk to a driver who last week we were saying happy birthday, and then we got word that he had a penalty and had to start the end of the line here tonight. Comes away second, though. Christopher Norris and Sam and Richard up in the booth. How are you feeling, Norris? I mean, at one moment, I didn't think that a top 5 was possible for you, and then we look up, you're in second place for the start of that restart.
Well, for one, it's kind of weird being here 2 weeks in a row. I haven't done that in like, I don't know, a year. And shoot, I don't know. I didn't even think a top 10 was possible. I suck in Milwaukee Mile. I hate Milwaukee Mile, but I also hate New Hampshire, and I somehow do decent there. So I don't know. This track is just weird.
Yeah, well, unfortunate to have that penalty to start the race, but like Sam said, you worked your way up slowly and steady to get through and make it all the way up there. But what was the strategy call for tires near the end there to get yourself up in contention for a potential win tonight?
It was probably more just kind of like trying to think of what would work. I'm not very good with strategy, so I just kind of go off what my teammates say. I put tires at. Oh, I skipped that one time because I thought it was like too early, and then I realized pretty much everyone behind me pit. So then 2 cautions later, I was like, "Yeah, I might as well just go ahead and go get tires now." And then after I made it up to, like, the top 8, 2 people in front of me pitted. I was like, "Why are we pitting when there's, like, 10 laps to go?" So I just stayed out and did what I could. But yeah.
I mean, Norris, looking at the way this season has been for yourself, points seem to be have gotten updated. You are entering into next week, 19th in points, so you're inside of that window of you find yourself in victory lane, the playoffs. You're entered into it. What is the mentality heading into next week?
Um, so it kinda sucks we're not close to the playoffs. I kinda thought I'd be, like, maybe 17, 18. That's kind of bad. Um, but with it only being really 10 points, I mean, I don't know. I could take a chill and for the beginning and get caught up in a wreck, or I lose the lead pack and go a lap down. But I'm thinking the overall best thing is probably just to put him on the dash and lead as many laps as possible. I mean, I've done that in the ISSC Truck Series, and it's benefited me before. I think the last time, well, actually, no, the last time I did that, I got myself jumped, or I jumped somebody. But the time before that I did that, I think it was Daytona, and I finished second to John. So if I finish second to John again, we're chilling. But I don't know. I mean, I haven't really practiced at all this season aside from like Road Americas. I just don't have the time for it anymore. But like, um, I don't know. I don't know how I'm supposed to practice for Daytona because I can't do it the night before because I can't do it by myself. But I feel like definitely should try to put some practice in if maybe anyone hosts a session because I feel like bumpy Daytona with the next gen is gonna be something I need to learn. It's not gonna handle the bottom very well.
It certainly is going to be an adventure for us to learn as much as you guys, Norris. Again, congratulations on second here tonight. And before we let you go, the floor is now yours for any other shout outs.
I should probably shout out Shane. Well, not shout out, but apologize because I accidentally wrecked him in my practice, and what I mean by practice for me is the first 50 lap of the race because I don't get home until like 8:40, 8:50, so that's not fun. But sorry to him because I was practicing in the back and accidentally jumped him. My family for watching. I know they're sticking around. Sam, they love you call me birthday boy because they had a text message about it. So my mom loves that. So thank them for watching. The admin team for putting on a great league. My teammates, um, Zachary Hall. I know he had an unfortunate ending. I kind of saw him die in front of me. It was a little bit funny, but I couldn't laugh because that's a bad teammate. Cedric, I know he had a bad night. He got kind of pushed around and messed around with, so I know he didn't have a good finish. Nicholas, I know um, some stuff's going on with him, so hopefully everything's okay. I think, but yeah, they're all great teammates. We lost allies, Brandon Calling, Trevor Unhot, I believe. So maybe we'll have him back next week. So I could definitely use some extra help. And then also you guys for putting on a great broadcast every week.
Well, thank you for giving us such a great show to call. That'll be your second place finisher here tonight in the 38 lids machine of Christopher Norris. Congrats on the finish, Norris, and good luck next week at Daytona.
Thank you.
As we move from second place, we head down to third. Talk to a driver that I feel like it has been forever since we got to talk to this 8 machine, but he's finally up in the booth with a fabulous finish in third. We've got Brian McCann with us. Brian, it's Sam and Richard up in the booth. What a run for yourself. Richard told us all night long how much you enjoy this track, and it proved on how well you ran up front. How are you feeling, though, coming away with third here this evening?
Hey, doing good. Feeling good. Amazing to get third. Wasn't really sure about this track. I do love it. This in New Hampshire, these flat tracks, they're really challenging. So I like to get out here and try to learn how to do it, and hopefully, go for the win. And luckily tonight we got pretty lucky. I stayed clean the whole time and dodged a bunch of wrecks in front of me. So I'm just happy to be where I'm at.
Yeah, Brian, you're actually my pick 'em tonight to go for the win because you were one of the top 3 or 4 fastest drivers in practice and qualifying fourth. So I felt pretty confident after talking with you before the race as well. You saying you really liked this track, and this is kind of one of those tracks is. If you like it, you're going to run well, because if you don't like it, you're not probably going to like racing, the entire race. So, how did you feel in the middle of the race when you started falling back a little bit towards the middle of the field?
Yeah, I didn't have that great of a start. I don't know if it was just the track state or maybe the temp was different than practice. Had to really learn how to drive again for the first 30, 40, whatever laps, and um, came back up, made passes here and there, and there were some wrecks that cars dropped off, some single spins here, and um, just dodged them all. So, yep.
I mean, you did a great job dodging them all, and now we're heading to a track where you might have to dodge even more. Heading to Daytona next week. Looking at the points as they've been updated, you moved up 3 spots. You're now 12th in points with a pretty good margin to the cutoff line, or where you think the cutoff line might be. What is your mentality heading to Daytona, knowing that it's such a wild card track that we have in front of us?
Yeah, I heard it's going to be the '08 tracks are really bumpy, so these cars, that's going to be interesting. I think Norris was talking about getting some practice in. I think everybody's going to want to practice that a little bit, but I've been having computer problems, and tonight's like my third or fourth race on this new computer, so I'm just glad it's up and running. Hopefully, it continues to go running. It's cut out on me a few of the previous races that put me down on the points, so I'm glad to get this third and move up to 12th and have a little buffer there for next week at Daytona.
Well, Brian, it was awesome to see you have a great performance here tonight. And before we let you go officially, the floor is now yours for any other shout out.
Yeah, my family, you guys for doing the broadcast, amazing job there. League admins, a lot of work behind the scenes on this one. Great work, guys. Everybody showing up and doing this amazing race tonight. Drivers and everybody watching. Sponsors, thank you for helping out. Thanks.
Well, that'll be the 8 machine of Brian McCann coming away third here tonight. Congratulations, Brian, on the run, and good luck next week at Daytona to clinch your spot into the playoffs. As we now move to our spotlight driver coming away 9th here tonight, it's the 25 of Cody Reed, who had a lot of ups and downs this evening. It seemed like the middle of the race just could not find his footing as you involved in so many incidences, but scaves away with a top 10 run, up 15 spots from where he started. Cody, it's Sam and Richard up in the booth. I mean, obviously not the finish you wanted. Would have loved to be finishing further up, but you come away with the top 10. How are you feeling though, personally, after this run?
I don't know. It might as well be a win. I was really struggling in practice and qualifying and just being fast. And during the race, it's like in that first like half the race, I could barely hang on to the car. Finally started getting like control of the car, and then I just kept getting involved in wrecks or like self-spinning, maybe getting a little bit loose and then drove over, or just completely driven through. I felt like I was getting involved in everything, and just kind of lucky with how like pitting went and like staying out on that last like little run. Um, I like ninth place. It might as well be first. Like it was just such an awful race. I really didn't deserve a top 10, but I'm excited about it though.
Yeah, Cody, that was a fantastic recovery run from you with all the spins that you were having. But having that win from Atlanta at the start of the season, that kind of gave you some breather for the playoffs. And it's looking like you have a very, very, very comfortable chance at making the playoffs after Daytona next week, as you are in the top 25 in points, especially after this ninth place finish. What do you think you're going to attack Daytona next week? Just going to be a calm race for you, or are you going to try and secure your spot?
I know I'm gonna try to win. I'm with this car, with this package at super speedways. I know they tweaked it in the newest update, so I'll have to like see what that's about. But I've always been super super strong at super speedways. So I'm just gonna go out there and try to win. Like I'm not gonna really worry about points. I feel pretty comfortable, unless I wreck out lap one. But hopefully that doesn't happen. I feel like I should be pretty okay. Go for the stage win, go for the race win. Obviously, hopefully that all works out.
We're hoping that works out as well, Cody. This has been a weird up and down season for yourself, but how are you feeling with that first one that you got it in your season so far as we get ready for Daytona next week?
Yeah, I'm just thankful that I have that win because my season has been so not great. Like I have had some ups during races, and then I usually have the Cody Reed moment and mess up. Um, I missed a race. I've had a couple like just really slow weeks. So I'm thankful I have that win because I would not be in the playoffs without it. But I'm definitely going to try to practice a lot more when the playoffs come. And hopefully make a run for the championship. I'm gonna have a Harrison Burton type playoff run, not necessarily deserving a spot, but I'll take it. I'll try to do the most I can with it.
Hey, Watkins Glen is the first race of the playoffs, so who knows? You might make it through that first
Mhm.
round for yourself. Cody, congratulations on a top 10 run. And before we let you go, the floor is now yours for any other shout outs.
Yeah, I'd like to thank my teammates. Ryan and Ollie were in the chat throughout the race, kind of keeping me cool. I was getting really frustrated throughout the whole thing. I'd like to thank you guys for putting on a great show, WSSR for everybody like the admins and everything for putting on a great league. Um, and I'd like to thank my dad for watching. He's great. He always watches, and that's about it.
Well, that'll be the 25 machine of Cody Reed coming away with a 9th place finish here tonight. Congratulations on that finish, Cody, and good luck next week on trying to make the playoffs.
Yeah, thank you.
As that will be our interviews here tonight. A lot of different viewpoints on this evening. I think overall, some drivers are just happy to get away from this track. It was a tough one for some. For others, they just were ready for success. And Larry Yingling took that chance, went for success. It might have been a small tap. It was too close to call for some. Others felt it. But Yingling takes the win. His last win was last year in late January. So it had been a year since Yingling found a victory here in the WSSR Cup Series, and he's happy to get it done here just right before the playoffs. Finding momentum is a good thing to find as Larry Yingling unofficially will take the win with Christopher Norris in second, Ryan McCann third, fourth will be Ryan Kelly, Brian Noel in fifth, sixth we find James Scioli with Ken Campbell seventh, eighth is John Forbes, Cody Reed ninth, and finishing out our top 10 is Vincent Sora. And then outside of the top 10, Richard, you called it that big wreck out of turn 4, coming to the white flag. It shuffled a lot of drivers on where they thought they were going to finish here tonight.
Oh, it definitely shuffled a lot of drivers back and a lot of drivers forward. I mean, you have Cedric Hunter, who kind of finished about where we would have expected with the issues he was having. So right there in the 15th position for Cedric, but still a good recovery run after his little slip up he had about middle of the race. Douglas Newbigging, another one of those drivers you were expecting to run a little further up. He falls pretty far back also during that scuffle. And he's going to be one of those drivers that's going to be sitting in a position that he's going to need to win at Daytona if he wants to make his way into the playoffs in 2 weeks.
Yeah, it is going to be a fun one next week. Don't want to miss it as the drivers get themselves prepared for Daytona 08. A lot of unknowns on that track with this next-gen car, how bumpy the surface is going to be. Drivers trying to bump draft, those just trying to make the playoffs. It's going to be a lot of fun factors to watch out for. And again, it will all be here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting next week. But for tonight, I want to say thank you for joining with us. Again, talked about in the middle of the broadcast, we will be back at the end of February. February 24th is when the ISRC Truck Series comes back to racing action for season 8 of those truck drivers, and we've got some returning faces that haven't been there for a couple of seasons. We got legends that have moved on, and we'll be able to toss over the torch to somebody else, and get excited to see what that new season is going to bring us with who is going to be the new top driver of note to talk about, with a lot of the top ones moving on. And then again, next week, Daytona, Richard. I mean, everyone knows it's a wild card race. It's super speedway racing, but with it being 08 Daytona, that's the factor that really changes this race from, okay, it's a normal super speedway to we have no idea what to expect.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. I mean, Daytona itself is a wild card race, and I mean, anybody can win at any given moment on that track. It just takes the last big one of the race to completely shuffle all the drivers around. And with Daytona 08, like we were talking about earlier, that track is extremely bumpy, and these cars do not like bumpy tracks. So it's going to be really interesting to watch a lot of these drivers that are in that must-win situation. So there's going to be a lot of fireworks next week, and I bet you these guys are not going to be bump drafting like you normally would at Daytona International Speedway.
I don't think so either. But for this evening, I want to say thank you to everyone that joined with us in the chat and was talking, and those that were willing to just watch it and see the madness that happened here tonight. For myself, Sam Dyer, for Richard Wolsifer, and for Robert Moyer Jr., thank you so much for joining with us on your Wednesday evening, seeing the coverage of the WSSR Cup Series Season 10, Race 11. Your victor is the 67 of Larry Yingling. Cannot wait to see what other madness might come out of tonight's race. Who's frustrated? Who's not? Who's prepared for the last race of the regular season? Next week, Daytona on the 08 surface. You don't want to miss it, as it will be here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. Cannot wait to see who's going to be moving on and racing for a championship. Can't wait for it. We will see you next week, Wednesday, for our next Freaky Fast broadcast.